Truth is, I am Iron Man.
Enough! You are all of you beneath me.
Our very strength invites challenge. Challenge incites conflict. Conflict breeds catastrophe.
Who in the hell do you think you are?
We're not savages.
I take power from the undeserving. It's kind of my thing.
And we're back with another episode of Dark Side of the Moon. I'm your host, Vincent Green. He's your host, Noel John Toohey. Let's get to it. All right, Noel, we're continuing our extended break from the Spider-Man, world of Spider-Man right now, Spider-Man properties, and this time we're going to go back to Disney Plus to watch The Falcon and the Winter Soldier, starring Anthony Mackie, Sebastian Stan, Wyatt Russell, Erin Kellyman, and Daniel Bruhl, directed by Carrie Scogland. And this is pretty much follows up on the events of the blip, and it's a continuation of the kind of insular Captain America universe within the greater MCU. And were you excited? You know how it goes. Were you excited when you heard about it, and what did you think about it when you watched it?
Well, I really, really enjoyed WandaVision, but WandaVision seemed like a standalone big concept.
Yeah.
Kind of like straight on magic. And
Yeah.
kind of almost it's like a psychology to it and stuff like that. While it was definitely followed by Vision's death in Endgame, or it was
Infinity Wars,
yeah, and definitely based, after the blip and all that sort of thing. It didn't feel like necessarily a natural sequel of sorts, but this did. This very much so felt like a world without Captain America, and a world where there was refugees from the blip, and it's after causing, all this kind of strife across the political spectrum. And so this kind of felt like the world as it was left after the defeat of Thanos. So this was cool. This was more grounded. This was just kind of like a look around at the world that I wasn't expecting to see, because it's only with TV shows that you can kind of take the time to slow down and look around a little bit. So yeah, no, I was looking forward to it, and I enjoyed the hell out of it. And at 25 million an episode, you know that you weren't going to be deprived of anything on the spectacular side of it. The opening scene is a huge Falcon scene. So yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, it's like whereas WandaVision was insular by nature, that it was like all set within Westview. This is like it takes on and shows you the greater world and how it's reacted to the blip. Like WandaVision is how Wanda reacted to the events after Thanos, where this is how the world reacted to the events after Thanos.
Exactly.
And that's the difference.
That's a huge difference. Yeah, exactly. That's an absolutely huge difference. And it was like Wanda was going through a lot, and it was an interesting story, but this was very much so the powerless were addressed in this.
Yeah.
The people who had nothing, the
voiceless.
The voiceless. And of course, the other side of that is one of the senators says in a later episode is, what about the people who came back and found that somebody else was living in their home?
Yeah, that'd be fucking strange, wouldn't it?
Oh yeah, of course, yeah. It's almost a thought exercise.
Yeah,
you hear have these things: do you kill one, do you save three, and all these kind of thought exercises. This is a massive thought exercise. Like actually put on screen for you. What would you do? Yeah,
because they kind of touch upon that with Aunt May when she came back from the blip, and Peter Parker, somebody else was living in their apartment. I think they touched upon it in Spider-Man Far From Home, the Spider-Man sequel.
Did they?
Yeah, I think because they'd been gone for a few years. But like I think so like that's obviously once again that was more on a personal level, and this is like what was that like for 3.5 billion people? You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. And all of a sudden you realise that there's kind of people with godlike powers out there. Like, people who make Captain America look like absolutely nothing. Like people who make Thor look like nothing even. A guy who can wipe out half the universe, and the only reason he didn't wipe out the full universe is because that's not his will.
Yeah.
It's literally not what he wanted.
Yeah,
That's it.
He could have wiped out everyone in that moment and there would have been no coming back.
He could have wiped out everybody as far back as the Big Bang. The only limit to the Infinity Glove was his imagination. So imagine feeling in a world where so many people are already in a world. I just can't say it without hearing that. A world where so many people feel helpless, that the divide between starving in the streets and godlike power to change the course of the universe is just so huge. This did a good job of kind of almost bringing it down to an action movie kind of level as well.
Yeah.
And it didn't feel like they dumbed it down necessarily. It just felt like it's TV shows, man. They had time.
Yeah. It's kind of
like
it was
they
like an
had time.
action buddy story with political overtones.
Exactly. Socio-economic overtones, racial overtones. But they didn't, and they didn't. It was well paced because they did diligence. I feel to it, but at the same time, we weren't there necessarily for just a lesson on civic discourse.
Yeah,
we were there like for there was a shallow element to it as well. I want to see explosions. I want to see the shield get thrown. I want to see fights in the sky and stuff. So it spoke to the kid in me. Would have been happy with this too. The kid who would have been in the cinema just looking at the screen going, why is nobody fighting?
Yeah, because
that kid was entertained too.
It's like when a kid goes and sits in a Winter Soldier, they don't talk about the grey areas in the political structures of the world. Like, you know what I mean?
Unfortunately, racism and things like that are learned behaviour. So, like, you don't have a 4-year-old sitting there going, "Why are they just talking about Black Captain America? Can somebody just throw the goddamn shield?" So it does. I don't know. It's trying to dip its toes into a couple of different kind of narratives, and I think it does a fairly good job of it. I don't think there was any really prolonged parts of this that I felt really bored.
Yeah,
you were never too far from something. Except if you, not to get to the end, but the whole who's the power broker thing is the only real big criticism I have of this.
But I think it did a really good job of keeping a similar tone to the Captain America trilogy, because in each Captain America movie there is this like little undertones. Like Captain America 1 is like it's kind of like the results of propaganda and how it affects people, that kind of way. It's kind of gets Captain America 1 is one big propaganda movie, the way it's styled, like the old war propaganda. And in Captain America 2 it's like this kind of subversive, nearly like political thriller. And in Captain America 3 is like what it's kind of all about what is good, what is right, and all about accountability.
I keep forgetting that wasn't an Avengers movie.
Yeah, it's like everybody kind of.
I do. Every time I'm going through that. Oh, what was your favorite? What was your least favorite?
The strongest trilogy, in my opinion, Captain America.
Yeah. If you go, God, like what's it up against? What else got a trilogy? Iron Man got a trilogy.
Thor.
There's absolutely no comparison. Thor got a trilogy, and again, there's no comparison.
Yeah,
there isn't. Not if you take all three against all three. No, not over the space of 5.5 hours. Absolutely no comparison. But yeah, the scope of Captain America 3 was so huge. And this reminded me of Captain America 2, to be honest.
Yeah.
Because again, it did, obviously Captain America 2 didn't dip into the racial overtones.
But it dealt with the greyness in the political world, kind of like...
It did, yeah.
What is this new world? Because like Steve, it was all about pretty much Steve, who is a very much person that deals in blacks and whites and how he sees morality. Good is good, bad is bad. And it's all about him trying to adapt to a world where good is grey and bad is grey. You know what I mean?
That's what all great villains. Like Heath Ledger is probably, in the history books, is one of the all-time great Joker. Well, he is the all-time great Joker, but like one of the all-time great Batman. Because the fact of the matter is, he said some stuff that made sense.
Yeah. If you're supposed to be able to relate to the villain if they're any good.
You can't put a bomb on a boat full of innocent people and another bomb on a boat full of innocent people. You can't do shit like that, of course. But there was something about the actual undertone and before it gets to the overtones.
Yeah.
And that actually works. And this had that in spades. And I think even Thanos had that in kind of as well. And don't get me wrong, I'm looking forward to Carnage being in the next Venom. And I'm looking forward to just Psycho with a lot of power.
Of course.
Don't get me wrong. But I do think a really great villain isn't necessarily a Sabretooth or a Carnage or something. It's somebody who has an agenda of sorts and maybe somebody that they're protecting.
Yeah, it's an almost relatable agenda as well.
Of course. I mean,
look at like Carly Morgenthau, like just for an example in this, like to back up your argument. Like when you look at like Joker or Thanos, but even in Falcon Winter Soldier, and you look at Carly's kind of message, you know what I mean? Like even though you can say, well, the world might be being better when all these people are gone and all that, like, so you can understand where she came from, because they touched on it in Endgame. The world had less pollution, there was whales in the Hudson, all this thing because of overpopulation.
Again, don't forget the Watchmen factor, when Ozymandias made it look like Dr. Manhattan killed New York.
Yeah, spoiler alert.
Poor New York. Yeah,
New York gets it all the time.
All the time. With comets and whatever the hell it was, those big things and
and it's not a huge city in terms of geographical size.
No,
you know
it's
what I mean?
No. And but like at the same time, the world, obviously we're prone to war as a species.
Yeah.
So a common enemy. I'm sticking with it. I'm not even correcting myself.
And
The name of the podcast needs to be a common
Nemini.
What did I say? No, I'm going to say it.
I think it was
Emily.
Emily. It was it's like Finding Nemo when he's trying to pronounce his home. I live in the Memini.
But yeah, people united in one cause against one foe is a huge thing that actually you do know is human nature.
Yeah, one people was it one
actually would work.
One people, one world, or one world, one people.
Exactly, because then something like the West Bank or something like that just seems small because they've given you a cosmic scale.
Yeah.
And that's not the way the real world works. This is a fantasy escapism, but it is also a thought. It is like an interesting thought exercise. So again, it makes it sound like it was this big high concept thing. But it was also a really, really cool play, like Falcon coming in, fighting Batroc on a plane, and you covered himself with his wings to protect against gunfire, and using his propeller to kind of like almost make up for his lack of super soldierness even early on, where he was kind of like kicking, propelling himself forward for extra power.
He's very one with his suit.
He's very. Actually, that's the thing. He's like an Iron Man. That's instead of like flashy kind of tech. Well, compared to Iron Man, he's very one with his suit. Yeah. He uses his suit.
Like the wings are like nearly an appendage of his body.
Exactly. He uses them so tactically. And so it was actually full of that as well. So, I'd say that I'm a horror guy in my adult years, but a kid guy, I was like American Ninja and stuff that I used to like.
Do you remember Three Ninjas, little kids?
I do. Thank God. I used to. Rocky, I think, was the name of one of the kids.
Yeah. If it isn't, it is now. Welcome to. You just got renamed. This is what we do over here. We rename it. If anyone's ever caught the Quiet Place podcast, we rename people. That's what we do.
Yeah, we rename people. Yeah, it's just easier.
Yeah.
But so I grew up I was just an action kid. I just loved it, So this spoke to the diehard kid in me that watched it every Christmas. And it spoke to the adult in me as well. So I guess WandaVision was probably a more artistic approach, and it was an absolutely great show. But this probably suited me more. Yeah. Just in that it just spoke to me more, which isn't a criticism or a praise.
Just to jump on your point there, I'm sorry for cutting across you, but
no, go ahead.
You the way you said like WandaVision was kind of like its own thing, and this kind of suited you more. I think this was the exact reason behind Marvel placing this directly after WandaVision.
Oh God, yeah, and there's a lot of people who've probably never directed, produced, put pen to paper for Marvel Universe who are still doing amazing jobs because it's coming out. The actual phases are coming out exactly as they should.
Yeah.
As in, there is this very smooth transition, and you're right. I think WandaVision been thrown on the tail end of this would have been very strange.
Yeah. It's better.
Let's talk about the world. Let's talk about the big picture. Let's talk about the UN, and let's talk about displaced refugees. And now let's talk about one woman and her grief. Who has unbelievable power. Yeah, it would have been strange. Yeah.
Like I think that's what Marvel do. They're very gifted at doing that. They're like, let's try something a little bold, something a little different, and then straight away after that, they'll give you something that they know you love and they know you want. Because like WandaVision was the sitcom based in this like nearly alternate world that's all WandaVision's creation, and then straight away after it, you have your action, political, buddy cop kind of story that
they have buddy cop.
You know what I mean? And if you look back at Captain America: Winter Soldier, even though it had this big political thriller overarching tone to it, it's still in the very realm. It had Sam and Steve making his first friend since he's become unfrozen. Pretty much, it's all about him making his first friend. It's kind of like you know what I mean. So, and this in the other way, it's kind of like Bucky making his first new friend. You know what I mean? Like that's Sam's like obviously very likable.
And obviously there was like the three amigos. I guess would have been Steve Rogers would have been the connecting factor. Like
the mutual friend.
Yeah, Bucky, he's original sidekick, and Falcon, he's more later years sidekick. And somebody they both really, really looked up to. But the two of them were never really they were never really allies in a big sense. So yeah, it is a buddy film, like a little bit of Stand By Me thrown into the political commentary, thrown into the Marvel universe.
It's just the best way to do a movie because it literally resonates.
You guys want to go see a
everybody.
body in Madripoor?
I love it. But what's called we talked about the political parts, the racial overtones and the political overtones, and we talked about the message that Falcon Winter Soldier was trying to tell on a broad scale. But like, I think what I want to ask you next is, when you look at a TV series and your expectations, what did you make of, you touched upon it earlier, what did you make of the big opening? It had a lot of Winter Soldier about it to me, like the way Captain America went to the ship to rescue hostages off the coast, and he even fought
jumped off a plane without a parachute.
Exactly, yeah. He even fought the same enemies as Batroc, sorry.
Batroc,
yeah. They even fought the same enemy. So what did you make of the opening? Did it whet your appetite nicely for the rest of the show?
Oh, absolutely, massively. And it was no more or less than I expected. I knew they were going to go big or go home, you know?
Yeah, catch your attention as well.
Absolutely, because all of a sudden, as you can tell by the totality of the story, it gets grounded. There's a scene where Falcon is in a bank looking for a loan.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Because there's still people, there's super people, but there's still people, you know?
So that he can keep a boat.
Yeah, keep his house as well, isn't it?
Yeah, that his sister is trying to sell. It's because his parents, you know, these parents, they have a lot of history in that boat. They went out there. That's their family. It's part of them, and blah blah blah. And this seems, and then you realize that you were literally watching him like fight a French terrorist on a plane. The reason he got on the plane, you ask? I'm glad you asked.
Yeah,
it's because he has
a helicopter.
Because he has like super powered wings, kind of like Tony Stark level technology, and so it did need to. For us, kind of frothing at the mouth for some action kind of guys, they needed to give us something like a big stake.
Yeah.
So you know, like, and then they can slow it down, and that's absolutely fine. So yeah, I knew it was going to be a big opening, but at the same time, didn't mean it was going to be a good one, and it was.
Yeah.
It was a cool opening.
Yeah, no, it was a really cool action sequence, and I think they had the mindset that like we're going to do WandaVision as a bit of a slow burn, so this one has to get to it, and it's only 6 episodes as well. Whereas like if you look at WandaVision, they had nine episodes to play with, although the episodes themselves were shorter in length. They still had 9 episodes to play with, where you can waste 1 or 2 episodes as world building. Whereas this is like, you know, the world of Captain America, these are the guys, and this is what they're up to. It's not kind of what it was. It's like, this is what Falcon's up to now. And they just kind of went straight into it nicely. You know what I mean? He's back from
and this wasn't twists and turns the way WandaVision was. WandaVision was very like, you know, Wanda, what are they doing to you? Like, coming in on the radio and everything's black and white, and then suddenly it's the 70s, and suddenly it's the 80s, and it's Malcolm in the middle.
You said high concept.
High concept, you know. So this was definitely more. It wasn't trying, like, don't get me wrong, it was trying to not reveal its hand too early, but at the same time, it wasn't twists and turns. It was a story of 2 people existing in the world, although existing in a obviously superhero level of it. At the same time, there was a groundedness as well, because Winter Soldier was living kind of amongst the family of his victims, even.
Yeah.
Like, he was torturing himself, but he didn't have the balls to just own up to it.
Yeah.
So yeah, it did. It painted it was good for them, because I liked the characters, and they weren't like forefront Avengers. They weren't the Hulk, you know. They weren't Captain America, Iron Man. But it gave them, all of a sudden, they had 3 dimensions. He had a sister. Sam had a sister, and he had nephews, and he had financial problems.
Yeah,
and you know, so yeah, it was good. Like, it was good because I cared. It managed to make me care. And when you care about a character, you have patience with them. And if you don't, you just want the eye candy, and that's just explosions and fights.
Do you like the Marvel habit of promoting from within?
Oh God, yeah.
Because like,
oh yeah, absolutely.
You know, because you have you know, Falcon going from being pretty much, you have 2 sidekicks, and now they're kind of taking center stage. You know what I mean? With obviously absolutely. Anthony Mackie being more the lead, you know, because his name is first. You know, like it's generally like the lead is the guy on the left. It's like a fight. Whoever gets billed first is the lead. You know.
The original title was Falcon and Falcon Friend.
Yeah, Falcon and Associate. So like, what did you make of, like, were you happy to see that, like, these characters that we got to know a little bit of through the Captain America movies, are you happy to see them getting their own show, getting a chance to learn more about them and seeing what way they develop as characters going forward?
Yeah, exactly. I would like maybe if they delved more into like the absolute like mindfuck that would be Bucky Barnes' life.
Yeah.
I don't think they did like the biggest, the greatest job. Now, don't get me wrong, there was a limited amount of time. Well, and the time they did have, they obviously needed to cover, they needed to put on a lot of hats during that time. But I would have liked to see more of the absolute clusterfuck. I know he had a therapist, he had a book, he had social anxieties and stuff like that. But the guy was literally a brainwashed killer for hire for 60 years.
Yeah.
70 years.
Yeah, I think he says later on he's been fighting wars for the past 90 years.
Yeah. I think he's 106 or something,
yeah.
Isn't he? Yeah, he's so yes, so the mind fuckiness of that I would have loved them to really delve into. He killed Tony Stark's parents.
Yeah.
He's been murdering people, influential people across the globe, and while he couldn't control his actions, they did touch upon a sense of weakness that he feels, because he can remember the actions.
Yeah.
So it's not like he was blackout drunk or something and did something bad and feels bad. He didn't. He had no control over it, but unfortunately, he has the memory of it. So I would have loved. I would have watched a show about that. To be honest with you.
What you mean, him as a singular character?
Oh, I would have, absolutely. Like him as a single character, and they just dive into that. I would have watched it. Don't get me wrong. I'm glad they put it together. They're trying to move forward. They're not like resting on their laurels. That's great. But I'm just saying, I think the Winter Soldier was such an epically introduced character. The forgotten sidekick of Captain America, who ends up fighting Captain America. And I told you this already, but the second Captain America was my favorite of the Marvel films.
Yeah, the Winter Soldier, because
Winter Soldier, I just loved it. So I would have.
And it was so impressive that Marvel went and gave the Russo brothers the reins over the Avengers movies going forward and Captain America Civil War. You know what I mean? Like, so it didn't just impress the fan base; it obviously impressed everybody. You know what I mean? It's such a strong movie. Like, it's nearly unanimous in everybody's top 5 MCU movies. Like, I don't know anybody that didn't like that movie. And if you didn't like it, you're entitled to your opinion and you're wrong.
You're entitled to your wrong opinion.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think you should legally not be allowed to have that. But, like, some sanctions in place.
I think there should be an accord, like a Sokovian.
Yeah. It was just a great film. Because, for me, it's never... it's the whole Batman Superman thing. It's not. Don't get me wrong. I thought it was great when Superman was fighting Zod through the city, but it's not. It's execution, and it's just if you're into it.
Yeah.
And I loved the kind of on the streets kind of battle more than I liked Captain Marvel taking on an army of Shi'ar or whatever it was in space. I just didn't do it for me.
Chitauri, I think, or so.
Is it
something like
I'm
that?
going to go with. I thought it was anyway. Ronan the Accuser.
I think it's like CHI''TARI or something like that.
I thought it was CHISHI''IAR.
Shit.
Shy and IR. Anyway, it doesn't matter. I thought the second film was just such a good action movie, and this probably took most of its. I think it took most of its concepts from that.
Right. And we both spelled it wrong.
Corrected.
We both spelled it wrong. It's CHITAURI. So close, but yet so far on both fronts.
Obviously, as two white guys, we're on the far side of the planet. We're definitely the two to ask. What did you think of the kind of touch into the racial divide that seems to exist in the current culture, and the idea, that they'll further touch upon about a black Captain America or a forgotten soldier, as they touched upon early on? My opinion is that whatever the most general consensus opinion is my opinion.
I love that we're not playing softball tonight. That's a nice hardball question.
It is. You couldn't possibly critique something like this without touching upon it, because it is a huge.
I always consider myself brave, so I'll go for this one, I guess. But no, I understand what they're doing. It makes a lot of sense because Steve Rogers is the perfect representation of this idea, this idealistic view we have of the golden generation, the generation that represented good, that faced evil and conquered the Nazis and the axis of evil and all this stuff. And he's the perfect representation in that as the pin boy or the poster boy, for the golden generation. Steve Rogers is the perfect representation of this.
Blonde hair, blue eyes.
Yeah, exactly. Like, you know what I mean?
Blonde hair, I don't have blue eyes.
Yeah, but it's this perfect representation of what we the idealized version of the golden generation. But I think with Anthony Mackie, and if you look at America, it's obviously a more diverse culture now. Far more people from different races live it. It's not
melting pot.
Cultural melting pot, and it's what was based on. It was like it's what made America such a a special or intriguing experiment. And if you look at nowadays, people want to be represented, and like a lot of people who feel like they haven't been represented in this kind of world look at the reaction to Black Panther, and you can see that there is a voice out there that felt like they weren't being represented. And the change in face and change in times of America and as a people and a population, I think now is the perfect time to have a change in face, a different race, a different culture, or whatever.
Yeah,
represented.
It's not now when is the thing.
Exactly. So
this year.
So to me, I think the story they're trying to say is it's not about black and white; it's about red, white, and blue. You're an American, I'm an American, he's an American, they're an American. I think that's the story they were trying to say.
Yeah, he does say there, he goes, I'll be damned if somebody tells me I can't fight for it.
You know,
and I did as well. I agree with everything you said, and actually think as well as that, fair play to you. But I think it's like another simplistic view is like it wasn't even this. Steve Rogers wasn't supposed to be this perfect representation. He was the only representation. He was like, that's all Captain America could have been.
I just think when you think
he's a blonde, blue-eyed, good-looking. You know,
well, he was like he was just a skinny dude. I just think that like when he became Captain America, that when we look back at the people that won World War II, that we see them as good versus evil. And that's what he represented. Steve Rogers, Captain America, was good conquering evil. You know, the Red Skull was his manifestation of what the Nazi, cruelty that they had beside them or whatever inside of them. And you look at the world now, it's more diverse, it's totally different. It's a modern age, so you need a modern captain. When you look back, it's great. Steve Rogers is the perfect representation of the era that he represents. And I think Anthony Mackie and Sam Wilson is the perfect representation of the era he represents.
Yes, and don't forget that a lot of people are kind of firing off going, this is just, the woke mob and stuff like that. And I say, fuck off, look. Falcon was always, since his inception, a huge kind of sidekick, follower, believer, patriot, in the kind of the Captain America ethos, trained and passionate, and just look, if you looked at the roster and go, who do you think should have taken up the mantle? He was the most obvious choice. He
was Captain America in the comic books.
Yeah,
Sam
exactly.
Wilson
he already was.
It's like not only is it
source.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you bet me to the punch. It's like not only it's not about black, white, yellow, pink, orange, fucking whatever color in the rainbow under the sun. It's not about whatever color you want to paint someone as. It's true to the source material, and that's more important than anything.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
That is more important than anything.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like we're all nerds here. This is what we see. We don't see people's races. We see, is it true to the source material?
Yeah, that's it. No, that's it. And again, I don't want to delve into this too long because again, as I said to you before we started recording, I said we're pasty ass white guys on the other side of the world.
Yeah, but everyone's entitled to their own opinion.
Exactly, everyone's entitled to their own opinion, and I think I actually just think Sam, the actor, I think the character, and I think again, like you said, like it needs it's canon. It was just the logical choice for me, and of course there's going to be kind of political overtones to it because of course there is.
Yeah, because people are assholes.
Of course.
Pick up a fucking comic book, people, and you'll understand that Marvel are staying true to the source material that you say you love.
People like to see themselves represented. Just that.
Yeah.
You just accept that much. And
it's like,
don't get me wrong. Don't get me wrong. Me sitting here, white dude. I suppose I'll just have to get by with Spider-Man, Iron Man, Superman,
Batman,
most of the Green Lanterns.
Yeah, Star-Lord.
Star-Lord. Yeah, you know what I mean. Like all three, Thor, Loki as well. If do you want to get anti-hero?
Because you have to look at the world.
Hawkeye.
The world is changing, and everybody should be represented. Like Marvel, it's called the MCU, Marvel Cinematic Universe. It's not called Marvel Cinematic. Yeah, you know what I mean. Like it's not like this. Like let's hire white guys. It's like they want to represent everybody. That we're there. Like people won't complain if a green-skinned alien shows up.
Yeah.
But if there's a black guy a person of color, whatever, wearing a fucking costume, they're like, oh, he's not my Captain America. Good, you had your Captain America if that's the way you look at it.
Exactly.
Now it's their turn to have their Captain America. You know what I mean? Like, he has to represent everybody, and if everybody can't be represented at one time, everybody should get their turn to being represented. I guess that's
Absolutely.
the fairest way too. Like, you know what I mean?
There was a great joke, and I think it was an American Dad episode where Stan, the main character, he's a real traditional meat and potatoes kind of character, and he meets this other kind of guy, and they're exactly the same. Only Stan's a Christian and he's a Satanist. But before he finds that out, he's just like, he goes, You know what I hate? I hate the fact that we don't have remember we used to have all the power? Now we've only got like 80% or 90% of the power. I hate that we only have 90% of the power. And that's what any uproar I've seen over this just makes me think of. And I'm just like, oh my God, we have Batman and Superman and Spider-Man and Ant-Man and Iron Man. Calm the fuck down.
Yeah, and it's not like they put a weak ass character or a weak ass actor in the
and
role.
if they put a weak ass character in it, well, I would have had a problem with it because it's a weak ass character.
Yeah, and it's
that's
not
also
about
not
race,
something
it's
that
about
just,
the character.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know what I mean?
I don't get like I watched Mortal Kombat there recently, and I think Raiden was the worst thing I've ever seen.
Oh my God, that film was extremely disappointing, and at the same time met all the expectations.
I know. Yeah, that's a Schrodinger of the film, all right, for damn sure.
We talked about all the different things, like we talked about Bucky, his relationship, and Sam's relationship with Captain America, and the racial overtones and the political overtones of this movie, this TV series. But one thing that's definitely kind of encapsulates all those different things in a lot of ways, apart from the relationship with Captain America, is the Flag Smashers, and they're led by Erin Kellyman, who plays, didn't have to look, who's playing Carly Morgenthau, who is in the comic books, and I only knew this today, so I'm not going to lie, but in the comic books, Flag Smasher was a character named Carl Morgenthau, so they obviously, changed that around a little bit, but it means nothing to me because I didn't have any history with the character before. But what do you think of Carly Morgenthau as a villain? What do you think of the Flag Smashers kind of as a secret organization? And what do you think of the message and the reasons behind her actions and stuff like that?
First off, it was a great introduction. There was super serums that they were kind of sent in to try and get their hands on, get into the back of a truck, and there's this scared girl. So I thought that was...
I actually forgot about that.
Yeah, so there's this scared... And she walks out and she's got red hair and freckles, and she's kind of dressed as if she's struggling or whatever. She's got like a brown jacket and kind of...
Because she plays like a teenager.
Yeah. She kind of got somewhat tattered clothing and stuff like that. And then they're saying... Who's in the truck with her? Is it the Winter Soldier or Falcon?
Yeah, so this is a scene I actually had a little bit of an issue with, unless it was obviously a plan all along to lure them in, because he runs around. There's pretty much just two articulated lorries. They load up all these supplies. We find out that there's like 8 people in them. The 8th person, as you touched on, is a hostage, they think. So two articulated trucks full of supplies. We drive up the road, and Falcon and the Winter Soldier give chase, right? So Winter Soldier goes right around Bucky, goes right around the truck at the back. They can clearly see him opening the doors and stuff.
Yeah.
And there's no...
Yeah, we did. Me and Sheila had this conversation. I'm just like, so the other guys are just...
they're just okay with this.
Yeah, I would love to cut to a scene where the drivers of the second truck were like, "Don't you think we should?" And go, "Listen, this is a truck A problem. This isn't a truck B problem."
Yeah. Imagine it's like what about one word, one people? Didn't mention that about trucks.
Yeah, didn't mention anything about trucks.
Not about trucks.
These are sovereign trucks.
He wanted to drive in the front. He was giving me up all day long about it.
Who was it that got in the truck though? It was Bucky, yeah. And all of a sudden, the girl, she just kind of gets a bit of a cheeky smile on her face, and then cool, super bunch right through the windshield of the second truck. How's that for not helping out second truck? Now you've got a super soldier thrown through your window.
It's a good introduction as well, and I love the juxtaposition of a young girl that looks like, I don't want to say frail, but it doesn't look like.
She put on the persona for a second, Like she came out from behind the boxes and then realized she's actually a super soldier standing guard, as opposed to a victim, one hostage in the back of a truck. So I thought it was cool because whatever, you do have this idea in your head of the bad guy, especially if you're going to be really strong, nimble kind of guys. You're going to be like big, huge hulkling guys, and she was just quite petite. And then I didn't take her for the leader because you just thought that she was so young. Yeah, you thought she was going to be just a surprise character for an action scene, and
I think that might be a thing about Carly Morgenthau in this, that everybody underestimates her, even the viewers, the audience at a time.
That's a good point. You think that she's a reactionary, she's angry, she's a terrorist, she's lashing out at the world, which at times is obviously true. There's an awful lot of anger.
Yeah, as it goes further along because of more and more loss.
She has a belief system.
Yeah. She has a
She has a
code.
code, you know, she can be talked to. So yeah, I think she's an excellent character. So I'm so happy for the woman that played her, because just, you know, what a boon for her career at such a young age.
She was in Solo.
She was in Solo, was she?
Yeah.
Um,
If you've ever seen Solo, I don't want to give it away who she is now if nobody's seen it, because it's kind of like a nice reveal. But yeah, she's in Solo, and I won't tell you the character she plays because, you know, it's a reveal.
but yeah, I was happy for her because she comes across quite likable straight away. You know, you could tell she put a little bit of shoulder grease into the role. You know,
she's really good.
She just felt there was a
Really
struggle,
good.
there was a pain there to her character, you know. And then that was just a cool scene. They did a good job, kind of having scenes that speak to Falcon's skill set, then scenes that fit to Bucky's skill set. And obviously, you know, getting punched hard enough to knock you 50 feet backwards through a window or whatever is definitely a Bucky skill set. And there's a cool fight on the roof of Truck B. So yeah, really, really good introduction. And they were kind of alluded to earlier on. But this is they arrived.
Excuse me.
Oh no, you see one scene of them, and the guy robs a place, and he nearly kills Torres. And I thought that dude was going to be the leader because he was just so big and foreboding. And obviously a super soldier, he was able to rip, he was, what was it, one of those traffic crime thingies out of the ground, and
like a bollard or something, like a cement bollard.
So he was obviously incredibly strong, and I thought he was going to be the big scary bad guy. So I kind of liked that it was just a person. And this person happened to be a young woman. But I thought she was an excellent character. I think it was a good way to go for the character, and I think largely because she did such a good job of it.
And the scene you touched on there leads me back to another scene, and the reason I want to kind of jump back a little bit is the introduction of John Walker as the new Captain America. I know Kurt Russell's son, got a lot of vitriol and hate in this, and this is where we kind of really see him in his first action sequence. The scene you're talking about is I'll ask you in a moment, what did you think of the reaction of White Russell? Did you think he played the role of John Walker well? Did he do a good job? But I wanted to ask you, what did you think of his introduction here in an action sequence where you see the two trucks kind of drive side by side, and there's like a fight playing out on the top, like a helicopter or some shit that flies overhead, and we see him and the introduction of Battlestar Hoskins, his sidekick. What do you make of that? Like what do you make of him in that sequence? Did you think it was good to show this way they showed the friction between him and Bucky and Sam and all that shit?
It was a good way of introducing the specter of Captain America that still loomed large. You know, like Captain America went out with like Mjolnir in one hand and the shield in the other, like kicking the shit out of Thanos. You know, it's a tough act to follow. So I did like how John Walker just came up short in every single way. But that was by design. He was just a man, extremely well trained.
It was completely out of his league.
He was completely out of his league, you know. And secondly, just been given a mantle that yes, he had, you know, he was extremely decorated and all that kind of thing. But he obviously wasn't Steve Rogers. And they made that kind of abundantly clear to you really early on. And I think the actor did a good job of that kind of not living up to it. You have to understand that was the design. You know, that was the design. That's what he was brought in to do.
And it's kind of like what Batroc said to Sam Wilson later on. It's like because you wear the robes doesn't make you a monk or some shit like that.
Exactly the expression. It was a good expression.
Yeah,
the robes don't make the monk, I think is the way they were.
So I think that's the kind of the case, like with John Walker, and like because you wear the Captain America suit does not make you Captain America.
Yeah.
You have to become Captain America to be Captain America, and not just act like Captain America. You know what I mean? And that's the difference between him and Sam. Sam became Captain America.
Captain America always knew a little bit about civil disobedience as well. You know, you can see when he turns on Hydra, obviously, or when Hydra kind of revealed themselves, he just instantly turns on them. He fights the government. He fights whoever it is that he perceives to be on the side of wrong. He fights, and that's this guy was obviously This guy was obviously military. Oh, I need you and you to do this, and this is our jurisdiction, and all that kind of stick in the mud kind of character. So he even had even just the every one of us has a hero inside aspect the films always touch on. He was even coming up short there. And that's somewhere you don't, it's not about strength and it's not about ability. That's somewhere that's like a character thing that you either have or you don't. And him not having that is even again by design. And I think he just played the unlikable character really, really well. He kind of had this Joffrey energy about, So I mean, I tip my cap to him. Well, no, obviously that's extremely harsh because Joffrey's the staple. You know what I mean? Like Joffrey's the So if I say like a hint of Joffrey or something, just
played by fellow Irishman Jack Leeson, if I'm not mistaken.
There you go. Yeah, and but yeah, I thought he did a good job because I thought he played the role that he was supposed to play, how he was supposed to play it, and it wouldn't have been like the coolest role, at all. He was quite flawed in his own shortcomings. Kept coming, but I thought he was a good plot device.
I'll jump back and more a bit on Flagstaff in a sec, but I just want to ask you a quick question about Johnny Walker. Do you think they used him as a buffer between Steve Rogers and Sam becoming Captain America? Not to go too far ahead.
The whole thing is that Sam, who had the shield,
the next guy was always going to get turned on,
some sort of Smithsonian type thing, where it's set up for some, maybe it was the Smithsonian, I can't remember, but he obviously Bucky thought that he should have been the one to have it, and it goes back into the government, and then he shows that so it makes it painfully obvious to Sam that he was supposed to be the successor. Like he needed it spelled out to him, and he didn't feel worthy obviously at the start, and Walker kind of helps get him there by all of his shortcomings. And he was kind of a needed plot device, because for Sam to just be given the shield, he wouldn't have earned it. He wouldn't be just
and I think
I'll be Captain America now.
Yeah, exactly. And I think as well his interactions with Isaiah Bradley, and he looked at the bitterness that a lot of people still felt, that he felt like that he could represent them, and he could give them some hope. I think as well with Sam and his interactions, not just I think it was obviously because of John Walker being such a terrible Captain America, that obviously propelled him further into his destiny a lot quicker. But I think the interaction Sam had with Isaiah Bradley, and seeing this this bitterness that he held for the way he was treated, and quite rightfully, the bitterness that he held, but he felt that there's a lot of people out there feeling this kind of bitterness, and by representing them and picking up the shield and wearing the stars and stripes, that he could maybe give them hope, and maybe try kind of calm down some of that bitterness. But what do you think with the reaction to White Russell's portrayal of the new Captain America, John Walker, online and stuff like that? I know we don't normally talk about stuff like that, but this is so current. What did you make? Do you think it's such a ridiculous overreaction?
It's a ridiculous overreaction. Look where it ended up. Yeah,
getting death threats and everything. You know what I mean? It's
everything ended up.
To quote Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back, fictional character.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? I'm doing that finger thing.
But no, it's all about where it ended up. They gave it to somebody who was so far from the mark, and it emphasized how Sam was exactly the right person all along, and that he only had to kind of recognize that he was. So he was just. And I wouldn't mind. This isn't this new thing that came out in Falcon and Winter Soldier. This is a trope. This is a trope. This is the guy who has to escort the princess to meet the prince, and along the way he saves her from danger and peril, and the prince turns out to be a gigantic douche. And then she realizes that, the love of her life was under her nose the whole time. Whatever. It's been used in 1,000 fashions. And he's Lord Farquaad or whatever. And that was the job he was given. And he did it excellently. He was flawed, but he was human, and he had shortcomings, but he tried to overcome them. He had a slight redemption arc near the end. What did you want from him? Nobody said he was Captain America. He was obviously a pretender. And then they gave him the shield, and then they took it from him. And then they stripped him of pretty much everything, actually. And then that was it. It was over. Oh my God! Do you know there's a food crisis in Yemen? That's what I say to people getting upset and sending in death threats.
But it was going back to Captain America: First Avenger. I think is Eskrin or something, the doctor that created this serum I just checked it up. I'm not gonna lie. But he says it's not about having the best soldier for the job. It's about having the best man for the job. It's like it's not about being a good soldier. It's about being a good man, and that's the difference between Steve Rogers when he got the super soldier serum and like Red Skull or John Walker or whatever. Because it's whatever's in you. It's just going to make you more of that. Like you know what I mean. So like it's. Like I think that's the thing when you have like what people looked at as like when you see a skinny Steve Rogers who's still willing to stand up to bullies, who's willing to jump on a grenade. When he becomes Captain America, it's just going to make him more of the Steve Rogers he already was.
Iron Man said to Spider-Man that if you're not without the suit, then you don't deserve it.
Yeah,
and then that could use almost as a sweeping statement.
Yeah, and I think a lot of that came down to Captain America, the way he said to Iron Man, "You're not without the suit." What are you without the suit? You know what I mean?
Yeah, I remember that. I can't remember the whole thing, but he goes.
He says philanthropist, playboy or something. And I love Captain America's comeback. He goes, "I know 10 of guys that are worth none of." I
know guys that were none of that or twice of you or something like that.
Worth 10 of you or something. Yeah, you know what I mean. So so I think he was just like the truest, bluest superhero you could get in the old school Superman realms. And how he viewed the world, very Boy Scout-ish. But like that was because that's the way he viewed the world before he had the serum. And you look at John Walker, you see this guy that comes across as kind of like this entitled dude. Obviously, he has this great military record or whatever. You know, the three only person ever to have 3 Medal of Honors. I hate when they do shit like that. It's like, would you only watch a movie and it's like, oh, he's 22 years of age, he has 5 degrees and can speak 14 languages. It's like no. Yeah. Like, no, where's he finding the time for this shit? You know what I mean? Like, so I just...
He got 3 medals for dying in combat, you know?
Yeah, but, like, I just think that, like, he was used maybe to go back, like, a little bit. I just think he was used maybe as a little buffer.
He was, yeah. He was just trying to show that the Captain America is more than... No, Captain America was inside us all along. That he was more than just a qualification. Especially when you see that Steve Rogers was this weedy little guy who just threw himself on what he thought was a live grenade without a moment's thought, absolutely sacrificing himself. And, that was what was in him. And Sam was just a guy who wanted to do the right thing. And Walker's, I think he just wanted to have his moment in the sun or something. There was a shallow side to him as well as a patriotic side and a soldier. Yeah. He was complicated. And I think Battlestar's kind of angle was because he was the one person he could relate to, was his best friend, and somebody who was in the shit with him. So, I'm really, really kind of dumbstruck about all the hate that he got now, I have to say. And I have to just make a strong message that those people are a shower of wankers, I suppose, if I was making it simple. I think he made, if it wasn't for him, you wouldn't have had Falcon breaking through that window and landing in the new suit, the fancy shield and the new everything, and the kind of integration of both Falcon and Captain America. You wouldn't have had it. The story wouldn't have earned it. Yeah,
exactly. And people have to realize the way you're feeling is because White Russell is portraying the character to the exact way he wants. You're supposed to feel that way. Like he plays the character to make you feel that way. Like if you're feeling angry because he's not doing a good job, that's the character he's playing. That's the job that character is doing. Like, you know what I mean? That's it's not up to White Russell whether John Walker not beat a guy to death with the captain with Cap's shield. Like, you know what I mean? It's just the way the story is. Like the fact that we have to explain this in 2021 is insanity.
White Russell did his goddamn job.
Yeah, and a good fucking job at that.
See, that's the thing. I mean? You can be. That's the thing. There's something, and it is true. You can be like super evil. You can be absolutely like completely, totally demonic. You could be Freddy Krueger. You could be Jason Voorhees. That doesn't matter. But it's when you're kind of an exaggeration of characters that people do know in their lives. The sniveling coward, the liar, the person who uses
the Malfoy.
Yeah, the Malfoy. Then that gets under your skin because it brings you back to school and it reminds you of the people that you've cut out of your life like a cancer cell.
Big heads and bigger
egos. That actually makes you angry. Because I've never known anybody who's committed mass genocide. And I've never known anybody who had an infinity gauntlet. And I've never, I have known.
And I only knew 2 guys.
You know 2 guys. That was before we started hanging out. But
yeah, well, I'm more grounded. I try to be man of the people.
Man of the people. But he obviously reminds people of somebody in their own life, somebody who had everything handed to them, or so it seemed.
And even though he did earn it in a sense,
Well, he
you know
did.
what I
His
mean? Like,
military
'cause
record was
yeah.
impeccable and stuff. I even think he managed to talk that down himself at one scene where he was like, they gave us medals to shut
But
up.
it felt like fake humbleness.
Yeah,
or
exactly.
something,
Yeah, but that was it. Anything that speaks to that makes you angry. I never ever got angry about anything short of a Game of Thrones. I forgot his name.
Oh,
Joffrey.
yeah.
Joffrey.
Yeah.
That's it. He obviously.
Well, Game of Thrones has done worse things than Joffrey's ever done.
Season 8.
Like the fact that Joffrey, right, to paint this, DB Benioff or DB Weiss and David Benioff committed way more worse atrocities in the Game of Thrones universe than Joffrey ever did. That season 8 is more unforgivable than Joffrey literally shooting arrows at a young woman.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I said it. I stand by you. I stand by.
Well, that's it. And the fact that riled people up is just so silly because he was an excellent stepping stone to get Sam where he needed to be. And when he shows up again with a big finale against the flag burners,
Flag
smashers, excuse me. Then it's just the stage is set. Had it started with Steve Rogers having died, and him just kind of picking up the shield and go, yeah, I think he'd want me to have this. That would have been that would have had people absolutely up in arms. And it feels like it's a damned if you do and damned if you don't thing. But obviously they needed a stepping stone, and the guy comes in to be the stepping stone and just do a job, and he gets shit over. I think it was a well casted film. There was nobody that was painfully bad in this film. And he's
Marvel's casting choices are always top notch stuff.
Exactly.
Like we even see a little cameo from Jennifer Louis Dreyfus. No, what's her fucking name?
Oh, see, now that's all I can hear in my head.
The one from the woman from fucking
Seinfeld
and Vice. Not Vice. Is it Vice?
Yeah, the VP.
The VP. Yeah, is that what it's called?
Yeah.
Veep. That's what it's fucking
it's called Veep. God,
yeah.
I feel so stupid.
Julia
Louise Dreyfus.
Yeah, I always get her first name wrong for some reason. I always remember the Louis Dreyfus, but I never remember her first name. Don't know why. I don't know fucking why. But so they did a good job. Once again, we kind of touch on they made him the buffer, not only for the audience, but also for America in a sense, in because you need to see someone do a bad job before you be open-minded about the next guy who might be slightly different in the way you think of a person to do a good job.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? And that's where the dynamic with John Walker and the transition
How
from
was supposed
to Sam Wilson.
If everybody was doing a great job, nobody would ever step up. And that's exactly that's it, but really as simple as I can possibly put it. Sam wasn't able to just rest on his laurels, and he had to step up. And then he did, and everybody has to treat the Joffrey of the whole thing. Honestly, it's just bizarre to me. We support you. We love you, Wyatt.
Seriously, anything that came from the lines of Kurt Russell, I support 100%.
Yeah, it's Goldie Hawn as well.
I think so. I think so because I know she has Kate Hudson's her daughter, but I'm not sure if Kurt Russell's her father. I don't know what way
I checked it, and it's definitely Kurt Russell's and Goldie Hawn's kid. I support him completely.
Yeah, is Kate Hudson total fucking unnecessary side note, but I don't know, is Kate Hudson Kurt Russell's daughter as well? I know she's Goldie Hawn's daughter. But it's just the kind of ponderings you get over here at Dark Side of the Moon.
Bill Hudson is her dad.
Yeah. See, Kurt Russell, I didn't insult you. Don't beat me up with your lovely long locks.
I mean, Goldie Hawn has been with two men in the last 40 years, the hussy.
Yeah, and I bet you both of them had fantastic times, both of those men. I bet she changed both their lives. Look at Kurt Russell. The man hasn't aged a day in 30 years. Exactly. That's what Goldie Hawn does.
That's what Goldie Hawn does.
But what you call it? So, no, we touched on a lot of things here, but one thing I want to kind of go back on, because it was my fault. I kind of brought the conversation towards John Walker because I was just pertinent with all the hate he got online.
That's bullshit. No, I know it's worth saying. It's fiction. For fuck's sake.
Yeah, exactly. I like superhero fiction as well, so I couldn't get any more fiction-y. You know what I mean? So we see the Flag Smashers who were kind of touched on. We see their talked about their introduction. Erin Kellyman as Carly Morgenthau. I just like saying that surname. what did you make of her as a villain in air quotes? Because she was a villain in other people's eyes and she was a hero in other people's eyes. That's the way everyone's the hero of their own story and all that.
Well, when she killed those people that she didn't have to kill, they were tied down. They got whatever.
GRC.
Yeah, they got everything that they needed, and then she just blew them all up. She made herself enough of a bad guy that I was able to say someone needs to stop her. She needs to, she needs to be stopped. They kind of did. So they needed to do that. But at the same time, it showed the character herself was quite sympathetic. And of course, when you're able to suspend your disbelief and just treat it like fiction, you're allowed to kind of be a little bit more loose with your moral fiction.
Noel just being sneaky to see what he did there.
but yeah, so I really, really liked her, and I'm glad that they kind of used her well. She ended up through phone calls and through face-to-face meetings, she ended up engaging with both Bucky and Sam on a few occasions.
Yeah,
and not too many either. And it really kind of fleshed out her character. You felt like not only is she not doing this for the hell of it, she's not robbing a bank to get money to live large on an island somewhere. She's actually doing something she's willing to die for, and that becomes so painfully clear. Yeah,
she's lost all hope.
Absolutely all hope. There's a line in the last episode, last episode, I think, where she says, whatever, it doesn't even, it's okay, and it doesn't matter if we die. This is big enough now.
Yeah, it's the last episode, yeah.
And she means it as well. She goes...
Yeah, and you can see the conviction in her eyes.
It doesn't matter if we die, and she's almost like proud, because she's, in one way, that is the goal. Obviously, she wants to accomplish more while alive, but to get to the point where it gets to feel like it's going to get accomplished one way or the other, and the goal is bigger than you, that's conviction.
Yeah,
she had that.
Yeah, because she sees herself as like an instrument for change, but the change, like, she has to be. It's up to her in her mind, I think, to start the change. But once she's able to start the change, she feels that she doesn't need to be there if the movement is strong enough to continue the change and bring it into a wider action or whatever. You know what I mean? And I think that's what a lot of like these kind of revolutionaries feel like. And like, I know people view her as a terrorist and people view her as a revolutionary. That's what I mean. But like, same in a lot of ways. On every side of the war, people view each other as good guys and bad guys. Everybody views each other as everybody's enemy when it comes to a war. You know what I mean? So like, I just think that like pretty much what she did really well in this was she made you see her as the person she wanted to be. But she was also very good at showing you how serious she was at being the person that she needed.
Or what price she was willing to make you pay, as well as the price she herself was willing to pay. Like, getting in her way was not a good place to be, as Battlestar found out. That,
what you make of that scene? Not to
so to get there, so that we're not dancing around it too much. She, she manages to not keep. She loses all of the super soldier serums. Aaron Zemo ends up destroying a lot of them, etc., etc. There's a character we're going to have to jump into. But Walker gets one and takes it, and obviously because the serum brings up your physical capabilities, but it speaks to something that exists inside you, your person, and kind of his rage and stuff kind of bubbles to the top. And obviously he needed a moment, that Hulk moment, that moment where he turns into his own version of a green monster, and that was Battlestar's death. And that was all, that was the moment I knew that he wasn't going to be Captain America in the next episode. And I didn't need to see.
He needed the moment that he loses.
Exactly, because you knew at this point that it's no longer. Because again, he was Johnny Mission up to that point. We get in, get out. This is what the orders are.
Like, that name would have suited him perfectly.
Mission.
Johnny Mission really would. Johnny Mission.
But then obviously it became personal. He literally watched these, and he dies instantly. It's one of these cases where he holds him and he takes. Remember Trinity in the third Matrix? She takes like 8 minutes to die, even though she's sitting like a rebar comes cutting through her stomach.
Chewing up that scenery.
But he's dead instantly. He's just, your man's panicking, and he's doing the whole like disbelief kind of aspect of it, where he just can't comprehend it. And then he goes out and he beats the guy to death in the streets. I thought that scene was excellent. The second I saw it, I thought to myself, "Oh, that's it. That's the end of his run as Captain America, at least."
Yeah, in everybody's eyes now, because in Sam's eyes and in Bucky's eyes, he should have not been Captain America from the get-go, but everybody held him up as this new Captain America. But as soon as he committed that, I think the episode is called "The Whole World's Watching" or something like that, and it's
It
that
probably,
scene
I don't
where
know that it is, but I also know that it is, because the scene is him with the
Yeah.
shield, and
everybody
everybody has their
has
phones out. And of course, it was the guy he kills, one of the flag smashers, only says earlier what a Captain America fan he was growing up, and then he himself is met to death with the very symbol of Captain America later on. So it's not, it wasn't a very subtle metaphor. And then he gets his brains bashed in with the shield. But I thought it was,
what did you make of the blood on the shield?
that's the thing,
first time
that the
you've ever
blood
seen
on the
it?
shield. And despite the fact that I've seen Captain America like absolutely clean people out of him with that shield, you never actually see blood on it, and then it was absolutely dripping in it.
Yeah, because Captain America is not a killer. He incapacitates you or whatever.
Not a killer, and because he never had to be. Because when a man like him is given, his reflexes are quadrupled, his strength is quadrupled, and every sort of aspect of himself.
But the goodness in him is also
there.
quadrupled.
Yeah, exactly. So he can take it down because he can.
He doesn't have to put you down. He just take you down.
Actually offers to fight him. So he just puts his shield on his back and he fights him, because that just
make it a fair fight. I love that. He has a little bit of arrogance to him too, Steve Rogers, but I love that though. Like, you know what I mean? It's kind of like, because like Batroc was played by George St. Pierre, UFC legend, and but like I love that, like when you see that, like, this Batroc is obviously a high level, the best, probably the greatest criminal in a sense in the world, and Steve Rogers is kind of like had that question inside him. He goes, I wonder, you know what I mean? I wonder, is he good enough? I don't, you know what I mean? I want to prove it to myself. The shield goes on the back. Let's just see. You know what I mean? Like, I just love that little bit of arrogance he had to his character. Like, it was like maybe because he's from Brooklyn or whatever, that kind of thing that fell back. He came from a tough neighborhood. He just kind of had this like fighting attitude in him, as he used to say. He could do this all day. You know what I mean? Like, and I think that was one of the best things about Captain America.
But did you notice in the next scene where they go to confront him, where Sam and Bucky go to confront him, that he's the shield still has blood on it, and he's standing there, and that's when he's standing defiantly with the bloodied shield, and that's when you know that if he's allowed to keep the shield, that's what the shield will mean now.
Yeah, exactly, and it'll only going to keep getting bloodier and bloodier.
They're almost talking him down. They have him talked down, or so it would appear.
Because that's what Sam does. He's used to do that for PTSD.
That was it, because he talks to Curly, early on as well. But he says, "You got to give up the shield, man." And then it's like, "Oh, I know what this is,"
he's such a douche those times, isn't he? Like, and it's so easy, like, people to hate a character without like feeling anything towards the actor, because it's fiction, like Noel said. So just remember that we didn't like John Walker there. Like, they didn't make one death threat. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? It's so simple. Not to like the character, but also have no feelings
Kevin
whatsoever
Spacey,
to the person
Kaiser
playing him.
Sose. Okay, that doesn't mean we should hate him. Kevin Spacey is a checks notes. Oh, okay.
Yeah. We're going to live. It's like Kevin Spacey's a good human being. I think so. Just to kind of wrap up this about the Flag Smashers and John Walker. I think John Walker, the character, hit every note he was supposed to, and that was actually a good job by White Russell. People have to understand what he was trying to do. And I think the Flag Smashers and what they represented to the people that were inside the Flag Smashers, and the way they kind of tried to humanize them, portray their characters, but also at the same time convey that they're willing to go to extreme measures by murdering innocents or whatever. You know what I mean?
It was an end justifies the means thing that makes them.
Yeah, exactly. They're very Machiavellian, which is what's going to segue me nicely onto the next character. But like, I like the way it did a good job of conveying everything that the characters were supposed to be, and each character hit the notes that they were supposed to. I think I only finished watching Falcon Winter Soldier, the last episode. I was watching it weekly last Friday. Rewatched it all today. It made the show extremely rewatchable because every character does what they're supposed to do at any given moment. and that counts, especially for White Russell as John Walker and Erin Kellyman as Carly Morgenthau. I just think both of them did an excellent job, did exactly what they were meant to do as actors in the role, as characters. People understand that. But so no, when I touched on the Machiavellian thing, the nice
it was,
yeah. The last character that we probably should mention before we go to the break is Daniel Bruhl playing Baron. Is it Baron von Zemo or just Baron
Zemo? Is it Baron von Zemo? I just said Zemo.
I'm not sure. So like he came back. He was the villain, the kind of secret villain in Captain America: Civil War, and he came back this time. It's kind of like in the Hannibal Lecter type role.
Very much so. Very much so.
Yeah, you know,
the charm
you know
and the wit and the engaging kind of aspect to almost likable.
Yeah, exactly. It's like that's exactly it. It's like, you know, he's a complete and utter.
Oh yeah, he burned the world, and has tried to.
Yeah. And what did you make of Daniel Bruhl as Zemo, and what did you make of this evolution of the character?
He was excellent. He was even a little bit awkward in the role in a way that was perfect. You know, when he's dancing and stuff like that. Like there's something almost so childish to him. He's a fondness for sweets. Turkish delights, yeah. And you know, he kind of likes jokes as well. He almost kind of at some points he's like he wanted to be one of the boys. You know, like he just wants to hang out and stuff like that. You know, and have he's obviously extremely intelligent. He obviously knew who the power broker was way before anybody else, because nobody could have figured out. That's when he shoots the guy who's making the super serum in the head when Sharon Carr walks in. But yeah, no, just perfection, man. This was almost Robert Downey Jr. levels. Obviously, the character is much more tertiary and minor, but this was just nobody else in the world. I just couldn't see anyone else in the world doing him now.
Yeah, and do you think he'll return?
Look, he's not dead. He's going to return.
Yeah, and he's such a schemer as well.
Exactly. Yeah, you know, and with somebody like that, and you're wondering how he escaped. He's escaped because he's already did something to make himself required. That's how he escaped the first time. He was needed. And somebody that intelligent has probably, you know, from a writer's perspective, you could say, I can think of 19 ways to get him out there, man. When he was in Madripoor, he did this, and now they're going to meet him to unlock this or speak to this person. You know, there's basically 100 ways. He finishes the series alive and well. He's 100% coming back.
And did you like I actually like, you know, the motives behind Zemo's actions in Civil War? I know he assassinated T'Chaka, King T'Chaka, T'Challa's father in it, but his reaction was obviously an overreaction, like in the same way that Carly Morgenthau is an overreaction in the wrong direction. When his backstory, as they touch upon Age of Ultron, he's a Sokovian national. He was trying to flee with his family, and pretty much when all the superheroes came in and world went to shit, and Ultron started lifting up part of Sokovia because that was his end game. Ooh. I said it. Damn it! Do I get slight now? Yeah. But so like, I just think his motives, even though it's like Carly Morgenthau, his overreaction was in the wrong direction. But you could clearly see that it was because his family got killed at the hands of super soldiers or superheroes. And
again, even though he's more like classically evil, you know, when he drowns the guy in the Marvel universe upside down in his own sink, he's definitely got some evil in him. But at the same time, everybody is driven by something very human, and Zemo's no different in that sense as well. He's just more of a schemer. He's definitely more sneaky and things like that. But again, there was a Hannibal Lecter type charm to him, just like them.
Yeah, and he can fight too, because we've seen in the shipping yard where he kills like 2 or 3 guys on his own.
He gets his hand on all of the leftover super serums, and he takes one in his hand, and he just drops it on the ground and he starts smashing them because he's a man of super soldiers. He held great power in his hands, enough to shape the world. He had like 6 or 7. He could make 6 or 7 super soldiers, including himself, perhaps.
I love the.
It's
a very strange victim in that way, isn't he? Where he's actually overtly against superpowers. You know what I mean? Like, because he kills all. Like, do you remember when you see Civil War? You think the big conclusion is going to be Zemo is going to get to facility with the 6 super soldiers. He's going to release them. Iron Man, Captain America, and Winter Soldier are going to have to team up to fight these 6 super soldiers. And when they get there, they're all dead because Zemo got there first and he killed them in their chambers. And you know what I mean? Like, it's like he understands that power can be obtained in different ways, and he thinks that superpower is a gross imbalance of power in the universe, and its ramifications are too much. Like, if you can lift up if you create, as they say, the big three, wizards, aliens, and androids.
You're not wrong, though.
But like, you know what I mean? It's like what wizard? Doctor Strange. No, he's a sorcerer. He's a sorcerer. No, but think about it. Sorcerers are just wizards without hats. But like when I think that's what makes him such a compelling character, that he kind of allows himself to be captured on several occasions in this series, that he understands what he did was wrong. He's like, and he understands that maybe it was a bit too much of an over calculation in the wrong direction, and his reactions resulting in the death of King T'Chaka, which isn't just a bold, outright assassination. You know what I mean? And then trying to frame Bucky and stuff like that. But I think he realizes that it's about the superpowers need to go away for the world to come back in balance.
And
that's
it was just, they tested it and he passed it instantly. Because, he's no interest in it.
No. Like, no, only interested in its destruction.
Only interested in instruction. He just doesn't see one vial that manages to roll kind of behind a heater or a pipe on the floor. And that's how Walker gets his hands on one. It wasn't given to him.
Yeah.
Just happenstance. And Zemo was a man of his conviction. It was one of my favorite things about it. And they used him just the right amount. I don't think he should have played central stage, because then I think his shtick might have kind of, because he wasn't supposed to be the guy who really pushes the action necessarily. Very much so as a guy who pushes the narrative. And he was used well. He was extremely well utilized and extremely well acted. I honestly, I couldn't picture anyone else in the role.
He's such a good fucking actor. Anyone hasn't seen The Alienist, it's on Netflix now, both seasons. In case anyone thinks we're Disney shit, I'm going to tell you there's stuff on Netflix too. Because I was super happy on Disney the other day, so people might come at me. But I think he was the perfect cast, and like, once again, I always say this: Marvel cast the perfect actors in the perfect roles. Like White Russell, they knew he was going to be able to portray John Walker that way. That's why he got the part. Erin Kellyman, everyone's seen how cool and charismatic she was in Solo. That's why she gets the part of Carly Morgenthau. Marvel's got great talent for doing this, apart from Don Cheadle. But it's like, I want Terrence Howard back. But what's called? So like, another perfect casting was someone that we've seen appear, and I want to jump on this character and then we'll get to the break, because I feel she'd be important going forward, and that's Sharon Carter, the niece of Agent Peggy Carter from the Captain America world, and she also appeared in Captain America Winter Soldier. And so Noel, what did you make of, I think it's Emily Van Camp, didn't even have to look. What did you make of her portrayal and the big reveal as her as the power broker and the whole world of Madripoor and all this kind of new stuff we got to see?
Oh, she was fine. Just like she was fine. You know what I mean? It's kind of
you just thought that was the least good reveal.
Well, actually, she did her job. I didn't care. I didn't think she did her job to a degree that nobody else could have done. I think she did her job perfectly well. But I just don't think the character was that juicy. I just don't think they did an awful lot with her. I think they could have used her better. I don't think. I mean, honestly, I said this to you before we recorded. I would have been a real reveal had she not been the power broker. Like the only thing that really I started to think maybe she wasn't, because of how many clues there was she was, and then her big reveal was just the dumbest fucking thing. And then obviously they tried to kind of reinvent her, which I just didn't buy, because when they introduce to you a character and then they shift them too far, too quick. It'd be like, Holland's Spider-Man coming back and he's got like one of his eyes is milky and he's got a scar down his face and now he's and you're just kind of going like, no, too quick. Too. So I kind of got a little bit of whiplash with her when she.
Which is very strange for Marvel, because they're so patient with the progression.
And then she was, don't get me wrong, I know she was trained and all this kind of stuff, and so she wasn't any sort of victim. She was an agent of S.H.I.E.L.D.
Like,
all of a sudden, she kind of had this roughness about her, and all of a sudden she had this. I don't know. She shifted too much for me, too quick.
I think the problem with that shift was because we didn't see it on screen. The character shift happened because I think in Civil War when she robbed Falcon or acquired or requisitioned or whatever Falcon's wings, because I don't want to say robbed because they belong to him, and his wings and Captain America's shield. I think in Civil War she's pretty much been on the run since then. So including the 5-year time jump that occurred between Infinity War and Endgame, she's been on the run for 7 or 8 years.
Yeah, that's true. That is true.
So I think I totally understand your point that the progression was jarring, but I think it's just because we didn't see it happening on screen.
Yeah, no, that is fair.
On Marvelous, on very
on Marvelous, and you're right. And obviously, there's just the blip is too big. It's too big to cover. To cover absolutely one of those things. And that would be crazy. Yeah,
it's just what. Yeah, I just think it's one of those things. Sometimes you'll have to accept that stuff has progressed without being shown. You know what I mean? It's because they're like, oh, this is what happened in 5 years, and maybe we'll get her backstory because obviously she's going to come back. The way her character ended, she gets a pardon. She's brought back to America, all that kind of stuff. She's going to appear in Captain America 4, whatever that. I want to touch on in the second segment. I want to talk to you a bit more about Captain America 4. But I think we've covered all the main beats here for Falcon Winter Soldier. Do you think do you want to say anything else before we go to the break now, or we just fuck off?
No, I think we should move into the break now. We're coming on the hour and a half now.
Awesome sauce. All right. I'm your host, Vincent Green. He's your host, Noel John Tui. This is Dark Side of the Moon. We'll be back with more after Falcon Winter Soldier after the break. So, Noel, see them after the break.
See them after the break.
And now a word from our sponsors.
A peaceful day in the Honeycomb hideout is suddenly interrupted by...
The Hulk!
A big Hulk want big cereal!
Honeycomb, you better come through! Brace yourself, Hulk! Honeycomb's big! It's got a big bite that tastes right!
Big enough for a Hulk?
Just try it!
Horse Honeycomb cereal big and part of balanced breakfast. Hulk, go!
Don't forget your honeycomb!
Honeycomb big!
And it's got a big bite!
And we're back from the break. I'm your host, Vincent Green. He's your host, Noel John Tui. This is Dark Side of the Moon. So on the second half of the show, as if you listened to us before, we do the what if section where we like to sit ourselves in the director's chair and talk about the little changes and little alterations we would have made to the story, or maybe even big changes, big alterations, depending on how the story hit us. So Noel, if you were to replace, I think it's Carrie Scogland as the director for the Falcon and the Winter Soldier, what would you have changed and how would you change it?
I suppose most of what I found there works. I would like a little bit more of a deep dive into Bucky. I think it did excellent work on the social commentary. I don't know, certainly better than I could have done as a guy on my side of the planet. But I would have liked a deep dive. 106-year-old super soldier brainwashed assassin.
But this show was very much the Falcon and the Winter Soldier.
It was the Falcon show, wasn't it? It's not, and it's definitely I don't think Sebastian Stan, the actor who played, sit down, girl. My doggy here is excited. This is a good time to move around. But that I don't think he's going to walk away thinking, "Wow, I didn't get any lines there," and he certainly did. But yeah, it wasn't as deep a dive into him as
because it's not the Winter Soldier and Falcon; it's the Falcon.
Yes, yeah, exactly. And so I would have liked more of a deep dive into that. But that's not a big criticism. I honestly think that they did an excellent job and I enjoyed it. And again, there's more to come from both these characters. So the future is bright. But I would have liked more from it. I definitely.
And you happy with the choice of villain and the different characters to introduce and the way they expanded the world and all these different things?
Yes. Yeah, and they expanded the world and they did an excellent job of setting up the world, I think. I think they've done a lot of great groundwork for basically everyone else. I think the socio-economic kind of strings been pulled around the planet right now, I think have been explained quite well. And and even the bad guys did. The Flag Smashers, groups like that, and their motives have been brought to the center. And I think I think they can use that for basically any other Marvel hero that they want to going forward. So I do think that a lot of directors and writers and stuff in that kind of bubble over at Disney and the Marvel kind of sector of it are thinking, yeah, okay, that's good. We can build on that. We can definitely build on that. So I think it did an excellent job.
Yeah, it's a perfect extension of the Captain America movies, isn't it?
Exactly.
If I was to look at it, the things that I might have changed or would have changed is maybe I would have fleshed out Carly Morgenthau's character a little bit more. I know she was fleshed out to a certain degree, but I think maybe the relationships with the other members of the Flag Smashers, I would have liked to see that a bit more. So when they got killed or whatever,
they didn't really accentuate anybody.
Yeah, exactly. It was,
and even when they did, the lines were only to bring about their human connection with her. And
that I don't mind as much, because I think the problem with her character and the deaths of her cohorts or whatever is that they didn't flesh out their relationships enough, in my opinion. That I think when the guy gets killed by John Walker and you feel the pain she's going through, I think if we knew a little bit more about their relationship, they were like, obviously they all felt like that they were destined to be these super soldiers or whatever, because they all came together in this one area at the one time and all ended up, becoming super soldiers, and they felt destined and stuff like that. And that obviously created some sort of link between them. But I just think I would have liked to see a bit more about the Flag Smashers, a little bit more fleshed out, because maybe you could have done one extra episode. There was a lot of fleshing out on the good guy side of things with Sam, but maybe Bucky was a little undercooked, but we got a lot of Sam's background and his relationships with Isaiah Bradley, and we even get a little bit about Bucky's relationship with Isaiah Bradley, because he's the one who tells him about him. But I just think with the Flag Smashers and sometimes villains in general don't get fleshed out enough. And I think even though Erin Kellyman did a great job as Carly Morgenthau, I just think the Flag Smashers themselves should have been fleshed out a little bit more.
Yeah, because they kind of had ditto, as in this is what, she gets all the good lines, and then they kind of go, no, it's kind of similar to my feelings.
Yeah, exactly.
And the only guy who really opened up was the guy who said he liked Captain America, and that basically turned out so that he could be bet to death.
Yeah, exactly. And I think there's the actors around her. They were given. They showed that they were capable to, pretty much be good with what do well with what they were given. And I think they could have been given a little bit more. And I think they would have just done as much as well with a more meatier part than the part they were given it. That kind of way. I just think they were capable actors, the people that were casting the roles, even though they didn't do a lot. I think if you'd given them more, they would have rose to the occasion, because the actors themselves did a decent amount with a little, that kind of way.
Absolutely agree. Yeah. Obviously, she was the mainstay, and she was first fiddle, and they made no secret of it.
And I would have liked to seen a little bit more of Hoskins before he died, because he was just kind of hanging on the coattails a little bit of John Walker. And I would have just seen
Well, he was more he was kind of almost funny, the levels of sight.
Yeah,
they even have a scene where girls come up to Walker and ask for his autograph, and he's standing right there.
Yeah, he's kind of invisible.
They don't even. Yeah, he's kind of invisible. He is he's just not the one that everyone's interested in. He even makes kind of a joke about it, and so he was kind of the penultimate sidekick. He did it. They always didn't flesh him out on purpose. It seems.
But I just think, I suppose when you look at it, though, the constraints, when you decide to go with 6 episodes, there's certain things that are going to have to fall to the wayside to keep the narrative going and keep the pacing strong. So maybe you have a little bit of an undercooked, not undercooked villain, but a little bit of an undercooked organization that the villain represents. You know what I mean? There were no Hydra, Hydra was steeped in Marvel history, and we got to see their story progress in different mediums through Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. and other different things, and through Captain America, Winter Soldier.
If you ever get their hands on the mutants in earnest, then I think you'll see more Hydra, because they're steeped in wars with X-Men and all that sort of thing.
Exactly. And the thing is, we got to see Hydra fleshed out in the background over many movies, and I just think that the Flag Smashers, they'll probably come back, because Carly Morgenthau, she alluded to that even if it doesn't matter if they die, the movement is strong enough to continue. So we might see the Flag Smashers come back, and I might get my little wish that they'll get fleshed out a bit more, and we get to see more about how they run things and how they plan to, overthrow the governments and stuff like that. Like, be kind of cool. And I just obviously, Hoskins won't be more fleshed out, because he's dead. Because of the deadness to him. But like something we kind of maybe should have touched on the first section, but we can touch on it now because we rule here. But John Walker's transition from the new Captain America to US agent, I liked. What did you think about that? Because I know it's a little bit off topic, but what the fuck?
Yeah, no, it was good because he went from top of the world, quite literally. He was
looking down on creation,
given the shield, looking down on creation, and he went from that to disgraced to kind of something like that character that approaches you to sees the potential in you, the kind of an Emperor Palpatine kind of approach where he's taken away and he's given a chance to maybe redeem himself. He's given a crappier shield.
No, he makes it himself.
Yeah, himself.
The cut sequence at the end of episode 8, I think. Episode 5, sorry. It was only 6 episodes. Yeah,
that's just dark.
Yeah, it's like, come on, guy. That shield is doing nothing. You're going up against super soldiers and you couldn't even do a vibranium shield. Like, you got your ass handed to you by a Wakandan warrior, and she wasn't.
He throws it at Curly and she just kicks
it. You know what I mean? But I like the transition for him to be US agent, and because he's not really a true blue hero like what's needed to be Captain America. So obviously he's going to work in a more clandestine nature, and I think he suits that kind of role more.
Exactly. And maybe that's it. Yeah, he can be the X-Force to the X-Men. The dirtier jobs that probably still need to get done, but you don't get to fly the flag and kiss babies and all the kind of stuff afterwards.
Yeah, exactly. You end up with a star.
I thought the transition was cool. But they raised him to a pedestal and knocked him off. And the thing about pedestals is if you get knocked off, you have the longer way down. So then the kind of desperation of he's not even a decorated soldier really anymore. So now he's kind of in a vulnerable state. He's easy to pick, manipulate, and he's still obviously an asset because he is a super soldier. I thought that was excellently done. I'm looking forward to seeing what they do.
Do you think that we'll see a TV series, or do you think he'll just reappear in a later Captain America?
You know what? I wouldn't be shocked if even Marvel didn't know, and they're always 2 or 3 steps ahead of the game. But they've lined him up nicely. I know they'll use him, and but he's a nice player on the board now. But honestly, I don't know.
Yeah.
And the fact of the matter is, they print their own money. They make it, we'll watch it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And they've got so much goodwill now. No matter what they do, we touched upon that one division. We're still going to tune in.
You would need to do a Josh Whedon's Justice League for them to lose goodwill now.
I think we'd still come back. You know what I mean? Just we forgive them. Yeah. No, I can change them. We talked about the different things we would have changed about the movie. The TV series. One thing I would have liked as well is one thing I really liked as well was the big reveal of Sam Wilson in this new version of the Captain America suit. It's kind of like a hybrid between the Captain America suit and the Falcon suit, and it's not something I wouldn't have changed this, but I just think maybe we should have touched on it a little bit. But what do you make of the big reveal of Sam Wilson as the new Captain America in episode 6, the big finale?
I thought it was good to give him a very colourful entrance as a new hero might want to get,
a spectacle.
And I thought it was great that he isn't a super soldier. I thought it was great that they moved away from that and that he's making up for those shortcomings in combat using
gadgetry,
gadgetry and a little bit of savvy. Obviously he can't run and kick you so hard that he butts through a brick wall the way Captain America could, but if he could propel himself at you, create.
He's still a highly trained soldier. As we talked about earlier, he's so one with his suit.
He's so one with his suit, and he's so driven. They really they did. Obviously, we're talking, we wish they fleshed out this, and we wish they fleshed out this. Well, that's because they were so busy fleshing out.
Yeah, because you're launching a brand new Captain America. It's a huge task.
Exactly. So there was no shortage of Falcon been fleshed out, none whatsoever. So it was huge, so I'd say him, he deserved it. Anything that they did with that character he would have earned it. They took all of the steps. It was all built. Like everything, there was
You can't
side
get-
stories, but that was
You
the
can't
main
get
role.
stronger
The main role
foundations
was-
than the Captain America trilogy to build your TV series from
No.
later.
I don't think anybody will get an origin story as good as Falcon.
Oh no,
Think about it. I know he's Falcon, but an origin story. It was 6 episodes of an origin story. It was a superhero origin story, and at the last episode, he comes in. He spends 1/6 of it as the hero,
because
as the new hero at least.
yeah, because it was all about the Falcon becoming Captain America. And that's what the whole show is really about, in the kind of like the long and short of it, really, isn't it? Like, you know.
Yeah, because now I know about his nephews, his sister, their money troubles, his background, community he grew up in. You know, kind of his what gets him down, what gets him up in the morning.
Yeah.
You know, his hopes and his fears, everything. They really, really did. They had us grounded. They had him in like, you know, denims and a jacket sitting against a table talking to terrorists, and then they had him flying the Falcon suit with the Captain America shield. So they did literally everything to flesh him out. So yeah, no, the reveal, they worked for it. So the suit was a bit colourful for my taste. I thought it would have been cool if it went a bit sleek, but
I just think because it was just a perfect hybrid of the Falcon Captain America. So I just think that's the perfect middle ground. But no, Marvel and Disney, how they love to sell toys. I'm sure that's not the last iteration we'll see of the Falcon Captain America.
Should have been Falcon America.
Falcon America. I'm Falcon America. You're doing what? Yeah, I also agree with you that I would have, if you look at the character slate, that like not the you know, the list of characters that were available to them for this series and the ones they chose, the most compelling and the most interesting is James Buchanan Barnes, you know, Bucky, the Winter Soldier. He's definitely the most interesting, as you touched on. Like, you got this assassin that was brainwashed for like better part of a century, that has all these things that he has to atone for or make amends, as he says in the series. That, like, I just think he's such a compelling character.
Trying to deal with the world. It's like me and you have been in the year 2080 as well. It's literally just a world he doesn't understand. Social media, selfies, you know, internet. He's definitely, you know, he's a kid that grew up in
Man
the
out
20s.
of time. It's like Steve.
Man out of time. Yeah, exactly. And so like there was just I just love the richness of that.
There's so much to that character.
They went for a grounded. They took a grounded character and they made him Captain America, and that's the strength of the show. And they did an excellent job of it. And I'm not slighting it, but I just kind of loved how much could have been done with Bucky Barnes, and I hope they explore it to some degree in the future. But I don't know if they will. I don't know if they, because obviously they're always looking forward. And they did this, and warts and all, it's done, and they did a really good job of it. So they're probably going to move forward, but I wish they did.
Yeah,
who knows? I would a bit of a prequel.
You like, as what we're going to see with Black Widow in the future, in a couple of months, another prequel. You could easily jump back that, because he's got such a rich history that he was on as the Winter Soldier. That you've got 6 or 7 or 8 or 9 decades of storytelling that you could easily jump back into and from, and make it like a prequel series or whatever. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, they could. I was expecting to kind of maybe hear him say something about Black Widow. You know what I mean? Just say like, "Oh, this reminds me of the time 3-5 years ago, whatever, that we did this and this." Just to kind of set up his role.
He touched on it with Isaiah Bradley, I suppose you could say, because they fought back in Korea. That's how he knows him. When Isaiah Bradley was sent in because he'd killed all these people in the Korean Peninsula during the Korean War. So you could maybe tell that story and tell us how him and Isaiah Bradley met each other and stuff like that. But one thing I kind of was a little bit disappointed with was when he was fighting Batroc, that he didn't say, "I can do this all day." I was waiting for that. I thought Sam was going to say that, like, "I could do this all day," like the way Steve used to say it. Like, I thought that would have been a nice little bit of fan service callback. But apart from that,
I suppose he wasn't there.
But you know, I would have liked that. But apart from that, like, I'm really happy what they did with the series. You know, flesh out this here and there, but, like, you know, it's better to have 6 episodes of really good action and nice pace and fast, quick show than have too much bloat. I'm a big believer, in when it comes to TV series, that less is more, and quality over quantity is always preferable. And I think that's what Marvel are looking at here. It just felt like felt like a Captain America movie split into 6 chapters, and I think that was what they intended to do. And I think, even though I was a bit disappointed with 1 or 2 things and how the characters underdeveloped, That's what you get in a 6-part show. As you said, it's the Falcon's origin story. It's the new Captain America's origin story, and so most of the focus had to be on him. Otherwise, the story would have lost its message or whatever.
Yeah, of course it would have. I suppose I felt that it probably wasn't very forthcoming in the sense that I thought it was going to be Falcon and Winter Soldier. I didn't know it was going to be a build up to who becomes Captain America, although I did suspect.
Yeah.
But it wasn't an even divide by any stretch of the imagination.
Yeah, Winter Soldier was kind of like his sidekick.
Yeah, because it was kind of like Falcon and Winter Soldier. I thought it was Falcon and Winter Soldier, a show about the two of them, and not Falcon and Winter Soldier as in Batman and Robin.
Yeah.
It's
like I said though, whoever's on the left is the star. He's the show. It's like whoever's name is mentioned first, they're the main focus. No matter where you cut it, you know what I mean? Like when it's Captain America, the Winter Soldier, it's a Captain America movie. You know what I mean? Like, so if it's like the Falcon and the Winter Soldier, technically it's about the two of them, but it's really a Falcon TV series. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
And it played out that way. It really did. It played out that way, But so, like, is there anything else that you would have changed about the Falcon Winter Soldier TV series?
No, I think they did a really, really good job. I think they did an excellent job world building. They did an excellent job on building Captain America and bringing him into the future, as it were, and setting up the next stage. And I think everything else you could probably you could poke holes in if you wanted to sit down and critique.
Yeah.
But it did its job. If they had a list of goals on a screen, it would have been set Sam up as Captain America.
Yeah.
Would have been number 1 and number 2.
Yeah.
So they come out of this with a Captain America, they come out of this with a US agent, and they come out of this with a new kind of shadowy Hydra-ish kind of organization that still exists, even if it's lost super soldiers.
Yeah.
And
we had the power broker.
They come out with a power broker. So yeah, I mean, the Baron Zemo is kind of a little bit more front and center now. Fans will definitely be calling out for him. So yeah, I think they've salvated the mouths of fans with this show more than WandaVision. I think this is more world building for damn sure.
Yeah, and before we go on to the last section, the best and worst, I wanted to ask you: do you ever see Bucky as Captain America? Do you think he'll ever hold the shield at some stage?
Hold it, yeah.
I mean, as the mantle,
The mantle, no. I think Sam's iteration will last whatever the 10 years, 8 years, and then they'll either revamp it or they'll retire it for a while. I don't think so. But then this has definitely thrown me for a loop on a couple of occasions since Iron Man all the way back in 2007. So who knows?
Yeah, and it really seems like Marvel now are ushering in the new generation, the next wave of superheroes that they're slowly over the next phase because there's not going to be an Avengers movie, that they're going to slowly start building their new Avengers roster through origin stories or new trilogies or new series or new franchises or whatever. So by the time the Avengers does come around, we're going to feel like all these characters have earned their spot on the team like we did with the original lineup.
Yeah, they have. And it's going to be, you could have Winter Soldier, you could have Captain America, you could still have Spider-Man will be a huge one,
Spider-Man.
And Stark Industries still exist.
Yeah, and we're going to have Ironheart and stuff like that later on that the Kevin Feige touched upon, stuff like that. So, and then, we still have a lot of the legacy characters left. Thor's still there, Guardians of the Galaxy still hanging around, Ant-Man, so it could be a smoother transition, but I think they're wise to hold off on an Avengers movie right now just because how do you top Endgame?
Oh yeah,
it's just
and then it kind of almost always got bigger steadily. The story was always building and building and building and building.
It's a gradual.
And then they went with. Don't forget, it wasn't just the Avengers. I don't know if they've ever done it in cartoon form, something as big as that. It wasn't just Stephen Strange. It was everyone that's ever cast a spell.
Yeah.
And it was, you know what I mean? It was
the big three. It was aliens. It was
the Valkyries were
androids.
There. Yeah, the Valkyries were there, and the Avengers were all there, and the Wakandans were there. It's absolutely massive.
Yeah, it was every bit nearly as big as the Battle of Gondor at the end of Lord of the Rings: Return of the King.
Oh, it absolutely was. Yeah.
But so is there anything else? Would you change? You're happy enough? We move on to the best and worst because I think I I'm pretty much happy enough. I fucking love this show. It was extremely rewatchable, and apart from fleshing out one or two things, I was very very happy what they did with the series. But like, so Noel, what would you see when you look back at the 6 episodes of Falcon Winter Soldier? What was your best and what was your worst of the Falcon Winter Soldier experience? Go.
Okay, best Sam, easily. He got, and it's not like it's that he got all the time, but he's also a great character, a great actor, and he was grounded and he was likable. He was three-dimensional. So they did an excellent job of him. They built up his character, and people would be frothing at the mouth for a Captain America film.
Yeah.
So that's a simple one for me. That's a no-brainer. The other one, just a goddamn power broker. I kept saying it like I cared. I didn't care. I didn't care about the mystery because I figured it out straight away. I didn't particularly care about Sharon Carter. I just didn't care, man. And it was like at the last episode, it turns out it was the power broker.
Yeah.
And I was like, I don't care.
Yeah,
I don't care.
I was a little bit like you when that big reveal came up. I was like, we know.
We know.
Yeah, it's like we know. You kind of told us a couple of times. You know what I mean?
It'd be like, have to start having, you go into a house and there's like a mansion and there's a really shifty butler.
Yeah.
And the lights go out and somebody's dead, and then an hour later the butler goes, "It was me," and you go, "Yeah, we know."
Yeah, it's like I was like, I wouldn't be surprised if you'd murdered several people this week at all.
Yeah,
like
exactly.
at all.
That's why we all huddled together and called the police.
Yeah.
So definitely the power broker, man. They just tried to build up the character so much. And I don't know if I told you this when we were recording or we weren't recording, but one episode of a kind of slashery thing that was on Netflix, there was clearly a character who was imaginary. And nobody except this one woman was talking to this character.
Yeah.
And I was like, all right, she's the killer because that character, nobody's interacting with him.
Yeah.
He's clearly dead, or he's been dead for X amount of years, and she's the bad guy, and that's all that's going on. And everything from that moment forward is ruined for you.
Yeah.
But you don't care. You don't care. You can't care.
Yeah.
Also, all the red herrings and everything, or oh God, there's so much mystery. And I was like, no, I don't.
Do you think it's the worst part about the Falcon Winter Soldier because you're unhappy with how they managed the reveal, or because of who the character was when the reveal happened?
Oh well, I mean, if I didn't know, at least the reveal would have had a little bit of weight. But I still don't think I would have cared.
Yeah, you're not a big fan of Sharon Carter.
No, I thought if there was anybody who was replaceable in it, it was her.
Yeah,
it's definitely not going to be Carly. It's definitely not going to be Sam.
Yeah, I was disappointed that they decided to kill off Carly because there's a lot of potential there.
It needed gravitas.
Yeah, and
to really
needed closure.
And of course, they had the big monologue at the end, the hero monologue by Sam when he's talking to the senators that he saved.
Yeah,
and that had weight. He was able to, He was able to talk about her in sympathetic terms because she was dead for her beliefs.
Yeah.
So her death obviously did lend weight to it. I feel the same as you, but it's Marvel. She's probably in a cryogenic chamber somewhere, and she gets brought back, and she gets an artificial spine implant or something, wherever the hell is she got struck, and she'll be fine. But I do think her death landed, it gave weight to the scene, and so it did serve a purpose in the narrative.
Something you touched on there. Do you think because of this whole, I know it's a big thing with a big history in superheroes, but this whole reincarnation, for lack of a better term, of characters that died, do you think that takes away from the weight of deaths that you expect them to come back, or what do you think?
Of course it does. Of course it does. When there's no sense of actual finality to it, it does take away from the sense of that. It's like, because now the show has introduced time travel and magic, and reality, literally able to warp reality around themselves. More than one character as well. The Infinity Stone can do it, and Wanda could do it.
Doctor Strange.
So, Doctor Strange. I mean, Vision was dead. Dead as disco.
Yeah.
And he came back for 6 episodes. Now he's dead again. Except there's another Vision that's out. That's probably Vision. I don't know. So yeah, of course it does. It does take from it a little bit. Again, like Black Widow's dead, so obviously her film's coming out this year.
Yeah, film, in my opinion, it's about 7 years too late in terms of the quality character.
Yeah, she showed up in Iron Man 2.
Yeah, we got Scarlett Johansson in the power, people. Use her. You know what I mean? Like you got a world class actress to play the part. Fucking use her.
Yeah. And she's willing to do the work. She's always in great shape for it as well.
Yeah.
She's always really great from the action scenes, stuff like that. But I do think it takes away. I do think that's one thing that's not very heavy in it. I don't know. Obviously, the blip. half the universe died, not that and they all came back.
Yeah, exactly.
So yeah, so it's
Like trillions of people come back.
trillions of people, yeah. So obviously that doesn't, but it never did and it never did, especially in Marvel. It didn't even particularly in DC.
Yeah.
But it never did in Marvel. I think Jean Grey has been dead. Something.
What is dead may never die. The quote,
Yeah.
fucking the Greyjoys from Game of Thrones.
Do you know what's going on in X-Men right now? Just so you said that they're on an island that if they die, the island just the island just rejuvenates, as in brings them back, just spits them out like an egg, and they'll just come back and they have all their memories. X-Men are now dying on the regular, and it doesn't matter because they just come back to life on the island.
It's such a creative out. It's like
it's such a creative out. In fact, some people are dying, but the last time that their memory's kind of scratchy, so they're trying to figure out who killed them.
Yeah.
They're trying to figure out their own murders. It's gotten real silly. So, but Marvel was always more silly in this aspect than DC. But nobody in the entire of comicdom is
you're not
exempt.
Yeah, you're not dead till you're dead. It's like
you're not dead.
Yeah. So like. When I look back at the Falcon and the Winter Soldier, my best would probably be I love the reveal of Captain America. I just love the build up to it. Where it's kind of like what's in the box? What's in the box?
Yes.
You know what I mean? It's like, and I just love that, and the way they reintroduced the Wakandans. Because like I'm really interested to see how that's going to play out after the untimely death of Chadwick Boseman. I just want to see what they're going to do with that property, because he's going to be such a huge miss going forward with that franchise and Marvel in general and the world in general, because he's such a good guy, good actor. And I'm just interested. I love the way they reintroduced the Wakandans, but not to get too sidetracked. My favorite part of the Falcon Winter Soldier experience would be the big reveal. I loved the payoff. I love the way they built it up. I actually like the new suit. I like the way it was like a perfect hybrid of the Falcon suit and the Captain America suit. I love the way, like you touched on, instead of super strength, he uses like the gadgetry, and we're going to see a Captain America that's going to fight very differently. He's like, I believe, I assume because the Wakandans made it, that his wings must be vibranium now, like the shield. So he's obviously going to be able to use them in many more different ways. And I love the way, like in action sequences, the way, like I think you talked about a little bit earlier, was like he kind of uses the wings to kind of wrap around him when he's being shot at and stuff like that. And you know, I just love the way they incorporated both characters.
The way you protect yourself instinctively with your arms.
Yeah, exactly. Like you know what I mean. It's just another appendage, like you know. And I love
he uses them for balance and things like that.
And I love the way he deploys and uses Red Wing. He's like little robotic sidekick type guy.
Yeah,
I love that. Like I love a good a little robot sidekick. Like you know, I'm a sucker for that. I'm a big Star Wars fan. You know what I mean? You can see where it came from. Like you know, you know, like so. But I love that shit, and I just love the way he was revealed. I really like the way they built up to it. I really like the incorporation of the shield into the way he fights in action sequences, and then he had his cool big hero speech at the end, which is always important when like it's the landmark moment, his big reveal of the new Captain America to the world. And I love the way at the end of the series that it changed from the Falcon and the Winter Soldier to Captain America and the Winter Soldier. I thought that was really cool. Even though I don't understand why they keep calling Bucky the Winter Soldier, because it's got such a negative connotation to it. You know what I mean? It's like a guy that used to be a white supremacist or something, stop being a white supremacist, and his moniker is a superhero of white supremacist. You know what I mean? Like, you know, that kind of way. It's like, but I really enjoyed everything about the show, really, because it's such a big action event with loads of real cool political storytelling, and it hit a lot of notes that are very on point with what's going on in the world today, but it's also been an exaggerated version of it, which is what we kind of like and love about superheroes. You said it's escapism at the end of the day. But I loved Captain America, the big reveal. I love Sam Wilson as the new Captain America, and I like the way. I'm really interested in seeing how it's going to move forward. And looking at it overall, I my worst would be I'm not so hard on Emily Van Camp, because I actually like her. I think she's kind of cool, but my worst would be probably, looking back, maybe just to harken back on your point, that I would have liked to see more of the Winter Soldier. I think the point you made was a really good point. That he's so compelling, so interesting as a character. Because as you said, it's like a 90-year-old super soldier assassin or something. It's like if that's not a perfect pitch for an action movie, I don't know what is. You know what I mean? Like, you know, so I would have liked to seen a bit more fleshing out with Bucky and a couple of other characters. But apart from that, fucking loved Falcon and Winter Soldier, and it was ridiculously rewatchable considering I only watched the finale on Friday, and I went back and rewatched it all again today, and you did yesterday yourself. And did you find it to be completely rewatchable like I did?
Oh my god! Well, I actually, I'll be honest, I watched the 6th for the first time.
Yeah.
As in, I watched 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then again, and then watched 6.
Cool.
But yeah, I found it crazy rewatchable. It just worked.
Yeah, it flows really nicely like the Captain America movies
really
themselves.
Nicely, yeah. Actually, yeah, good. Yeah, that's a good analogy.
Yeah, it's a really it is a perfect extension of the Captain America trilogy, though, isn't it?
Really is, yeah.
Like in tone, in scope, and in the way they incorporate the characters, but it's also keeping them grounded. And it's pretty much the whole Captain America thing is this grounded guy that can do extraordinary things, and that's a real superhero, an ordinary person that can do extraordinary things when called upon, and that's what Falcon and the Winter Soldier emphasized perfectly, I think. And but before we get the fuck out here, Noel, I want to ask you: there's just hot off the presses, literally a few days ago, right after the finale wrapped up, the Falcon and Winter Soldier, the creator. I think it's Carrie Scogland, one of the head writers anyway from Falcon Winter Soldier, is going to co-write or co-create Captain America 4, which was a nice little treat from Marvel because they love giving us fans nice little treats. Are you excited for this? What way do you think they'll go, and who do you think might show back up in Captain America 4?
Oh God, that's a good question. I'm wondering if they just keep it a little bit insular, and make a Captain America 4 a lot like Captain America 2. Where you had Black Widow and you had Winter Soldier and you had Nick Fury.
It's like a spy story.
Yeah, and while that sounds like a lot, it's really not. It's considered how many characters show up in Avengers films or Captain America Civil War. So I think they might try and just dip his toes into the water, and so I'd like to see maybe Spider-Man or something like that. But I don't think.
Yeah,
I don't think.
Might see Ant-Man. They have a little bit of history.
Yeah, they do actually. Yeah, I was only watching that scene. It's
so funny. The fight scene between him and Ant-Man.
I think you're a really great guy. I just thought it was great. Tearing apart his neck, and he's just like, not personal. Yeah. I think you're a really great guy. But see, the thing is, I'll tell you when I'll know. I'll tell you when I've been able to, when I know who the bad guy is.
Yeah. You think
the bad guy always lets you know what the scope is.
So do you think Power Broker's the bad guy for Captain America 4?
Oh God, who's Power Broker?
I think they subtly alluded to it that it may be. Let me check my notes. Sharon character? Am I pronouncing that correctly? Sharon character. That's a different character right there immediately. Yeah. But so who do you think? Because you've got a really fucking deep knowledge of the comic books, more so than I do. Like a lot of because you can deep dive like a motherfucker when it comes to pulling out people's names. Do you know? Are you deep on Captain America? Do you know a lot about Captain America's history?
I know a fair bit about Captain America. I was always fond of him before he was really that central.
Who can we expect to see? It's pretty much the short for the long question.
You've had, I don't know. I'm trying to think because really you had Red Skull.
Yeah, and he's tied with Steve Rogers.
Him down. And they've even got rid of Iron Zola, remember?
Yeah.
You have Baron Strucker, maybe.
He's dead. Ultron killed him.
Okay. I honestly, then, you know what? Consider Bucky Barnes as the only other person I can think of. Ultron was another big one.
Ooh, Bucky is the villain. No, they've done too much to get him as a
Crossbones is dead as well.
Yeah, he got killed. He got severely killed, if I remember correctly, by Scarlet Witch.
Yes. Well, he killed himself and she tried to contain the blast.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, you know what? I don't know. I think unfortunately I talked a big game there, but on those couple I kind of ran out and you forget that. Unfortunately, Captain America is after fighting.
And you're thinking of Steve Rogers' Rogues Gallery more so than what Sam Wilson
might have. So he's gone from Red Skull to even, again, Crossbones and Batroc and guys like that. He's at least duped it out with them, and they weren't big enough characters to have as the bad guy. So I don't know. They could go high concept. He could be Wanda. It could be anything. He could be a team up. It could be.
I think Wanda will be the villain of Doctor Strange.
I do. I think she's going
Yeah.
to. I think she's going to be a villain again, misguided, and they'll save her at the end somehow.
Or she'll kill herself to prevent her, whatever she did to kill it.
Exactly.
Kind of like an Alfred Molina at the end of Spider-Man 2, spoiler alert, I guess. You know what I mean? Like where he pretty much like eventually sacrificed himself to stop his technology from wiping out New York or whatever. You know, I think that might be a thing with her, because I think Marvel now are looking at the really overpowered superheroes, and I think they'll either die off or go to the wayside. I think Captain Marvel, I believe, even though I like her more than a lot of people, I dig Brie Larson. I think her days are numbered. I think she'll get a trilogy. She'll be killed off or she'll die off, and we'll see a Miss Marvel. She'll replace her eventually. Someone that being more relatable, more grounded. And I think you'll see that a lot with Thor. He will go by the wayside in a few more movies. I think Thor number 4, Love and Thunder. I think it was one more movie than Marvel ever planned for Thor, but because of the relationship, Chris Hemsworth, and Chris Hemsworth was growing into Thor better than any character, near the actors growing into their character. And now they have Taika Waititi tied to that franchise. It's only going to go from strength to strength because he's a ledge. And I just think that Marvel are going to go through a process maybe over the next few years of separating the grounded characters with the super overpowered characters. Kevin Feige alluded to something like this, that the villains will be, some will be cosmic and some will be more earthbound. So I see this overpowered characters will either die off or they'll be completely separated from the more realistic grounded characters.
Yeah.
And they'll have like
because the scale is huge.
Sinister Six.
Like,
there's
Sam has Captain America's shield, a really high-tech suit, and Wanda can literally create a world around her as she sees.
That's why Doctor Strange will have to go against her. It's power sets.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's power sets. I'm after looking at Captain America villains here, and I've narrowed it down. It's either going to be some nice grounded character like Hate Monger, a clone of Adolf Hitler, or
well, it's no more on the nose than Killmonger. That's some moniker.
Yeah, you're not wrong there. And Porcupine, a weapon designer clad in porcupine-like battle armor.
Come on, Captain America, try harder. Like, as obviously nobody was trying as hard as Ed Brubaker when he created Winter Soldier. You know what I mean? It's like, Brubaker, were you carrying Captain America by yourself? I did not know you were doing such a big job over there, Brubaker. Just like that word, I'm going to keep saying it. But
oh my god!
Yeah, I have a feeling the more Earth-based characters will eventually team up against the Sinister Six. I can see that happening, and because Winter Soldier and Spider-Man and who is now Captain America, Sam Wilson, they have a bit of a history from that fight in Berlin. Ant-Man has a bit of a history with Sam, so there's your new Avengers, I think, on the Earth. And Sword will take care of what's going on in the cosmic. So Sword are going to become the new Shield, and they're going to be the more cosmic version, I think. And there'll be a cosmic threat. Maybe it'll build Fantastic Four. Maybe Galactus will be your cosmic threat, or maybe Gore. I'm not sure if he'll make it out the new Thor movie, but the God Butcher.
Marvel managed to make Thanos and Captain America fight.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? They managed to build up for him being worthy of Mjolnir or whatever you have.
Yeah. Meow meow.
Obviously, meow meow.
Fucking love Kat Dennings. Legend. Meow meow. Every time I see her now, I don't even, I never remember her name is Darcy until we did WandaVision. I just call her meow meow. Every time I see her, I'm like, oh my God, meow meow. It's a fucking legend.
But yeah, I don't know. And I tell you, all eyes on that.
So like the villain is not so clear, and I'm not like, I don't have much of a knowledge on Captain America.
Well, I went through 5 or 6 in my head, and then you realise in some massive capacity or some smaller capacity, he's fought and defeated them.
Yeah, see, the thing is as well, and they're so linked to Steve that it's hard.
Yeah.
And when you look at Red Skull, that's Steve. You look at Batroc, even though he'll carry over nicely to Sam because he's not a super soldier himself. For him and oh no, he died. What am I thinking? He got shot. Emily Van Camp shot him. Fucking Sharon Carter shot him at the end of the finale. Spoiler alert, I guess. But like, so he's gone. Maybe I suppose we didn't see his dead body afterwards. But like, unless they look at what Marvel do, they're kind of clever. They've got such a deep pool of rogues galleries throughout all their different characters. They might retroactively fit a villain from a different superhero and make him a Captain America villain. They might have a strong villain they haven't used yet, and they might not get an opportunity to use him for that superhero because maybe their story is told. Kind of like the way the Mandarin, because of the shit job they did in Iron Man 3 with the Mandarin, that they're like, oops, sorry, we're going to actually have a Mandarin in Shang-Chi, The Legend of the Ten Rings.
Yeah, you're not wrong.
You know what I mean?
Even the Cosmic Cube can make a Hydra Captain America. anything,
Yeah.
It's the limit is your imagination, really.
Yeah, exactly. Like, so, like, I think it's hard looking back on Captain America's Rogues Gallery because it's so linked to Steve Rogers to use it to predict what's going to happen with Sam Wilson as Captain America 4. But it definitely should be cool to see it do. And I wouldn't be surprised if they kind of transplant a character from another superheroes Rogues Gallery and use that and maybe try to create this new rivalry. And Zemo might come back, but I can see Zemo slowly turning into this anti-hero that they love doing with the likes of Loki. Maybe he's going to be like the Earthbound Loki. Because Loki killed 80 people in 4 days as the tallest Avengers Assemble. And everybody was like, we dig Loki. And everybody was upset when he died. Well, like, he killed 80 people. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's it. It's redemption arcs. They can do them very easily.
Yeah, so that could happen with Baron Zemo, that he'll become like an Earthbound Loki or something, and he'll be like the new
common enemy.
Yeah,
like they kind of did already touch upon.
The enemy of my enemy is my friend.
The enemy of my enemy is my friend.
AVP, solid writing, solid movie. I will.
Just a solid movie.
Just a solid movie, all around solid movie. That's all I'm going to say. No, she's extremely solid, like extremely.
just good.
It's like, do you know the way we talk about solid movies? Like, if you go to me, hey dude, can you name a solid movie? Straight off the top of my head, like AVP, extremely solid movie.
Yeah, absolutely.
But so Noel, before we get the fuck out of here, are you excited for Captain America 4? I know it's a bit murky about how it's going to turn out because we don't know a lot about the Rogues Gallery as much as we do about other superheroes. But when do you think we're going to see it, for one? And
they've just announced it, so I'd say you're going to talk about 30 months, 2.5 years, kind of.
And
do
you think they already had a place for it in the slate of upcoming movies, but you just didn't announce it because they wanted to be a surprise?
I wonder if they've. Well, I'd say I don't know if they've gone to the drawing board. I suppose a lot of it is
already planned.
They wanted to see, they planned it. I'm sure now that this has landed and it wasn't a thud. But yeah, they've got ideas. But they're playing coy with us, and God knows that we can't complain because they've released a slate of what they're going to be doing for the next 2 years.
Yeah.
So you're not like, oh wow, they're really playing. They're really not showing us anything. Yes, they are.
And
they just don't happen to be showing you this yet.
Just to use what you said to segue nicely, like, and you mentioned that the slate they have come out and they showed it to us, and that's what we'll talk about next time on Dark Side of the Moon. We're going to look at all the upcoming projects and the ones that have recently released in the Marvel Universe.
No shortage of them.
No shortage of them is right. And we're going to go over them in great detail because we love this kind of shit. And that'll be the next time on Dark Side of the Moon. So if you want to hear what we think about what's coming up next for Marvel, you heard about what we thought about what has already occurred and what just happened, but you want to know what is, tune in next time. And Noel, before we get the fuck out of here, have you got anything more to say about the Falcon Winter Soldier, or we just book?
No, I think we can book, and thanks for staying with us. Thanks for spending this time with us. We know you have your choice of podcasts. Thank you for flying with Dark Side of the Moon.
Yeah, this is Dark Side of the Moon. We're a couple of zeros talk about your favorite heroes. I'm your host, Vincent Green. He's your host, Noel John Tootie. Let's get the fuck out of here. Noel, see you next time, motherfuckers. Noel, last word.